every Thursday we'll be joined in the studio by rapper and Spurs fan, AJ Tracey. How are you?
How you doing, fella? Not too bad.
Good. Now, we've spoken to you on the phone before. I've never met you, right?
You spoke to me on the phone before, yeah.
Okay, do I call you AJ, Trace?
You call me whatever you want to call me.
Yeah, but
mate.
what do your pals call you?
AJ, Age.
Age,
yeah.
Okay,
Age.
nice to meet you, Age.
If we've had a beer, it's Age.
Age, okay.
Yeah,
We should do that on Thursday.
Yeah?
Thursday's a great night to go out. Benny,
I heard the fridge is stocked over here. I might be here for...
forget the food. We go across the road for a few. Can I ask what AJ stands for?
AJ, it's a multitude of things, but it's just a stage name that I thought makes sense. It sounds like a normal name, though. It sounds like a government name, which is why I picked that rather than one of these crazy, aggressive rapper names. I thought something that will sell, something that a mother's not going to look at. Their kid wants the AJ Tracey record. They're going to be, that name's crazy. I'm not going to buy the record. Just a nice, normal...
It's a friendly name.
It's a friendly name. Yeah. It's marketable.
Obviously it is because it works.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You said it, not me. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for coming in.
No, thanks for having
What are you up to at the moment? We're going to talk loads. I know you're a big Spurs.
By the way, if I wasn't here with you, I'd be watching this, by the way.
How nice.
Tyson Fury, Floyd Mayweather, Canelo Alvarez. Just hearing these names makes you think money and the hundreds of millions of dollars, pounds or Saudi riyals in boxing. But that's at the top. At the bottom, it isn't quite the same. Even for those on the rise, there's not an awful lot of cash in the boxing world. And if you're just starting out, well, it can be a very costly exercise indeed. But don't take my word for it. Here's the former European champion, talkSPORT's Spencer Oliver.
You're turning professional and you're boxing, let's say, York Hall on a non-televised fight. You have to sell tickets to earn any money, but you have to cover the wages of your opponent as well. So if you don't have the ability to be able to sell enough tickets, you effectively have to pay to fight.
A far cry then from Jake Paul facing Mike Tyson in 2024, when the purse was reported to be around £48 million. But the vast amounts of cash lining the top dog's pockets isn't the norm in a typical fight.
Let's say you're lucky and you get between 5 and 10 grand. You're going to get 10 grand max for that. 10% goes to the trainer, 25% goes to the manager. Then we've got the tax man to pay as
Hello and welcome along. This is the Saturday session on talkSPORT. I'm Natalie Sawyer. Delighted to have your company, and we also have with us here in the studio the former Chelsea and West Ham defender Scott Minto. How are you doing, Scott?
Good afternoon, Nat. I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
Very, very well. And we have a very, very busy show because although it's an international break, there's still plenty going on for us to discuss and keep you up to date with. Of course, we'll look back on England's 1-1 draw with Uruguay. We'll bring you the latest from the Premier League as we enter into the business end of this season. And we'll be joined by former Brighton strikers Glenn Murray and Bobby Zamora on what is non-league day. We have plenty of live sport for you today to keep across. In the WSL, for example, there's a small matter of a Manchester derby. What's the latest? John Dunn.
We've got 10 minutes of the first half remaining. Natalie, it is Manchester United 0, Manchester City 2. 2 goals in 2 minutes, 2 headers from Vivian Miedemar, giving the leaders a boost. They've also had 2 efforts brilliantly saved by Fallon Tollish, Joy and Lauren Hebner's hit one against the bar. If City win, they'll be 11 points clear at the top of the WSL. Manchester United 0, Manchester City 2.
John, thank you very much. There's been an earlier result in the WSL. It's the Merseyside derby. Everton did score a late goal in this one, but Liverpool won it 2-3 at Goodison Park. Also to come at the North London derby as Arsenal take on Tottenham. That's a 5:30 kickoff. Into the men's side of things, and at 3 o'clock in League One, we've got Stockport against AFC Wimbledon. Mark Wilson is going to be across this one for talkSPORT. Mark.
Yeah, Stockport looking like missing out on automatic promotion, but they can take a big step forward to locking up a playoff place today as they take on AFC Wimbledon. They make 4 changes. Bate, Alowu, Stokes and Sidibe come into the county lineup for AFC Wimbledon. And that, their top scorers Stevens and Brown miss out for them. It's the 3 o'clock start at Edgeley Park for Stockport County against AFC Wimbledon.
And Reading will continue their push for a playoff position. They're taking on relegation-threatened Wigan, and that's in front of Tom Clayton.
And the headline team news is that Liam Richardson makes 2 changes from defeat at Stevenage last weekend, with Randall Williams out through injury. Will Keane also drops to the bench. In comes Liam Fraser into midfield and Daniel Cheroa on the wing. Gary Caldwell makes 1 change to the Wigan side that beat Exeter in the week as Callum Wright returns from suspension in place of the former Reading Academy player Caelan Vickers. Reading are unbeaten here in 9 games, while Wigan have picked up of late with 4 wins in 8 games. From the Select Car Leasing Stadium, it's playoff chasing Reading against relegation scrapping Wigan.
So that's 2 games of 5 in League One. There are 10 taking place today in League Two. One of them got underway earlier on. Notts County are at Harrogate and they lead very early on in this one. 1-0 is the current scoreline in that game. So we'll keep you across all that happens in the EFL. Plus, there's a small matter as well of the FA Trophy semi-finals, and we'll keep you up to date with that. There's also the National League. Leaders Rochdale travelling to mid-table Sutton. Ian Abrahams is there.
Yeah, it'll either be Rochdale or York who win the National League. Rochdale have a 3-point advantage over York this afternoon at home to Woking. Rochdale travel here to Gander Green Lane, make 1 change from their midweek draw at Scunthorpe. Tyler Smith in for Devante Rodney. As for Sutton, 2 changes. Jennings and Thoyo both been recalled by parent club AFC Wimbledon. Bonner and Eccleston come in, and we start here at 3.
Ian, thank you very much. There are international friendlies taking place as well. One that's just gone underway at the Stadium MK sees South Korea taking on Ivory Coast. That was a 2 o'clock kickoff. No goals as of yet in that one. But we'll, of course, look ahead as well to Scotland as they host Japan at Hampden. That is a 5 p.m. kickoff. And we'll bring you all the details as we get ever closer to that one. Not only football, there are back-to-back Premiership rugby games on talkSPORT 2 today. And right now in the first, it's Gloucester 5, Leicester 29. That's at half-time. And this was scored, try from Orlando Bailey.
Searle, little bump off of Freddie Stewart. Will One gets it away to Orlando Bailey! And Orlando Bailey has Leicester's 5th try of the afternoon.
Yeah, it's not been the best of starts for Gloucester, who have lost their last 4, but Leicester going really well and in the playoff positions as well. Tune in to talkSPORT 2 from all of the Gallagher Premiership games. Plenty going on. This certainly is the place to be for the Saturday session on talkSPORT. Okay. Oh, busy start.
Well done, and breathe.
I know. Now it's over to you, Scott. Could you just talk? Right. Look, there's lots for us to digest and look ahead to as well. But obviously, we're going to have to start with what happened at Wembley in that 1-1 draw between England and Uruguay, and what was a much changed England side. First of all, just to get your thoughts on the fact that Thomas Tuchel has done what he's done with this squad, 35-man squad, and as he pointed out, he was not going to use some of the players we might more expect to be on the plane. Do you think this is the right time for him to be doing all these tinkerings?
I do actually, because I think it's almost, and it has been billed as a bit of a sort of like a last chance audition. And I don't have a problem with it. One, because I think if you look at it from a club point of view, we're getting towards the business end of the season. You know, club managers, they don't want to be sort of pulling players out like, you know, they have done in the past and even have done in this particular window as well. So for most of those players to only play in 1 game, I think is very good there. But even from an international point of view, even from an England point of view, you know, people talk about, there's so much pressure. And well, yeah, it's a World Cup. You know, there's going to be more pressure during the World Cup, and especially, and we should be going down to the knockout stages. So get used to it. This is what it's like playing for your country in real, almost one-off situations. I think, I mean, you touched on it. It's the first time that team had played together. So I think it was always going to be a little bit disjointed, you know, not so much in terms of patterns of play. People knew what they were doing. They're up against a horrible team. I mean, with respect to Uruguay, and I texted Gus Poyet a little bit earlier on and sort of said, you know, how strong was that? And he said, yeah, it's actually almost as strong as it could be. 2 or 3 players missing, but that's about it really. But it was almost like the Uruguay side of back in the day, where it wasn't just fouls, but it was. I think they were very lucky to have 11 men on the pitch, perhaps lucky to even have 10 on the pitch.
Well, yes, there is that debate too.
I thought the ref, and I don't like blaming referee. You won't often hear me blaming the referee, but the ref and VAR had an absolute shocker. I think if you look at that tackle on Phil Foden, it was a definite sending off. 2 yellow cards for Manuel Ugarte. 7 or 8 minutes later, one was rescinded. The penalty at the end was never a penalty, but just the general kind of management of the game was poor. But I do think that if you're up against organised sides, you need to do more than just pass, and go down that route. You need to pass forward. You need to break the lines, or at least have someone who is willing to take someone on. You know, you create a situation where it can't be a 2-on-1 against the wide player. So you move the ball quickly, you switch it quickly, you get the ball out to Marcus Rashford or Noni Madueke, and then they can run at the fullbacks. And I thought, to be fair to Marcus Rashford, he did that. But yeah, generally speaking, I think it was a 1-0 game for us, really. But the bottom line is, what did he learn?
Well, that was what we were going to come to, but I mean, we can't change the record. It's 1-1. That's how it finished.
Okay.
I know where you're going
tried.
with that. I know you did. But just to touch on what you were saying there about this Uruguay team, and England could obviously potentially come up against a similar ilk at the World Cup. How worrying is it that they couldn't really unlock that defence of Uruguay?
I think even if you play teams lesser than Uruguay, we've seen it at club level as well as at international level, smaller countries, smaller teams. If you're well organised, it doesn't matter if one of your players wouldn't get into the other 11, they can make it very difficult for you. I go back to the fact that we didn't have our top players in that particular side. I mean, how many of that 11 will be starting the World Cup? I would argue probably only really Marcus Rashford has got a great chance of starting in that 11 in the first game of the World Cup. So I don't worry too much. I think it's almost my question, or the answer to my question is, what did he learn? Is he would have learned the mentality of players, both behind the scenes and on the pitch. Now, obviously, we can't comment on what's gone on behind the scenes and how comfortable they look. They're going to be hopefully 7 weeks away, Nat. So they need to be good travellers. They need to be good colleagues, good teammates. But they also need to be able to handle the pressure as well. And I thought a lot of the passes were safe yesterday, and I wanted to see a little bit more risk.
And that's obviously the disappointment, that maybe some of those players, given that opportunity, didn't take it. I mean, Phil Foden is a player that's long been discussed, not just because of this season, but because of when it comes to England duty, he doesn't necessarily perform to the level that everyone expects him to do. And it didn't really feel like he shone in any way to kind of make Thomas Tuchel go, well, you're a definite 10 for me, or whatever it is, wherever he sees him playing.
Yeah. And the fact that he's not playing for City and he's not even almost first or second choice to come off the bench shows that he's not in a great place right now. So this was a great audition for him. Look, it was a shocking tackle on him.
Yes.
And ironically enough, he was taken off a few minutes later, but just in between that, he actually got on the ball and did the stuff that we know that Phil Foden can do. And my worry about him, Nat, and I think he's an incredibly talented player, and you think about he was Premier League Player of the Year just a couple of seasons ago. He's now looks like, whether it's lost confidence or lost motivation, I don't think it would be motivation, but it looks like he needs to be in a team that's playing well and he can just be one of those cogs, rather than, we're going out the World Cup here. We need someone to grab the game by the scruff of the neck in the way that a Jude Bellingham can, even a Cole Palmer and even a Morgan Rogers as well. So for me, I really want him to do well, but he was one of the few where he really needed to have a good game, and for me, he didn't.
Well, let's hear from someone that we know particularly well. On the Weekend Sports Breakfast this morning, the former Republic of Ireland striker Tony Cascarino criticised Phil Foden's performance.
When you have the first downturn and you start being left out by your manager at club level, and then you're not quite, in the starting 11 for England, and he's sort of lost his way, Phil. But I just hope he can reignite his career. He really needs to, because at the moment, I don't think Phil's going on the plane.
And I suppose the other issue with that is that, okay, yes, he had to go off through injury, but Cole Palmer comes on and sort of has a spark to him, and obviously delivered the ball in the end that led to England's goal.
Yeah, in half the time.
Yeah.
He whipped in that great ball for Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Yes, yeah.
And even, I'm not saying that Phil Foden can't do that, but we don't see that. Cole Palmer's able to get on those set pieces. Phil Foden has got a wand of a left foot as well, but he doesn't. So, okay, so in open play then, you've got to be better. And I do listen to Kaz in the mornings a lot, but I didn't hear him say that. And I think we're just echoing each other, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're just saying the same thing. At this moment in time, Nat, he's not going to be on the plane.
Were you up at 6 o'clock? Because I think he said it very early on. In case.
I was yesterday morning, but obviously that's not the breakfast show in the weekend.
You had a bit of a line. It's a weekend. You're allowed a line at a
8 o'clock
weekend,
I was up.
to be fair. I mean, this is one of the bigger decisions, isn't it? That number 10 position for England, because there are quite a lot of options for Thomas Tuchel. I mean, how many can he take, do you think?
It's a really good question because, I mean, obviously now it's a 26-man squad when it used to be 23. So there's a choice of an extra player there. You know, match winners are the ones, you know, sometimes you want the players who can do really well from minute 1 to minute 90 or maybe even extra time. But then you need a player of moments as well. Mm-hmm. Someone who can open up unlock that really difficult defence. You know, and the name Jude Bellingham just keeps coming into my head all the time. You know, that type of player. How many can he take? Jude has to go.
Yep.
Morgan Rogers has to go.
Yep.
For me, Cole Palmer, he's not yet got back into the form, and I watch a lot of Chelsea, but I'm really impressed with his performance last night. I think he's got to go. How many more do you want? I mean, you know, how many more do we need? There's the wide players. There's obviously Harry Kane. The question is, do we take a second striker or do we take one of those wingers as a second striker? I thought Dominic Solanke played really well, actually. I thought he had the centre-half really close to him all the time. I thought he looked sharp. It wasn't a 10 out of 10 perfect performance, but when you're asking for something to show that you can give something different to Harry Kane and that number 2 striker is there for someone to try and grab it, he almost did everything but score a goal in the end. So I was impressed with him. And yet I've probably been more impressed with Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the season so far.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, admittedly, Solanke's been out injured more.
Has, yeah.
And we've seen maybe this being a more consistent season for Calvert-Lewin, bear in mind the injury issues that he has had in his career as well.
And the injury thing is a really important one, though, that you can't be taking too many people who are prone to injury. So for Dominic Calvert-Lewin to suddenly look like he's not injury prone and Dom Solanke looks like he is, you know, that's got to be thrown into the mix as well.
I mean, look, there's so much more to kind of glean out of this game yesterday and what it all means for the Japan friendly coming up on Tuesday, where we would expect Thomas Tuchel to play a stronger 11, let's say. But you're right, who will be the understudy to Harry Kane remains still up in the air. There's the Ben White scenario as well and everything that happened last night.
Some game, didn't
Trent Alexander-Arnold is another one we haven't really discussed. Lots for us to get through. If you want to have your say on things, you are more than welcome, of course, to get in touch. You know what you have to do. You can WhatsApp us on 03717 223344. You can text us to 81089. But we are keeping you across all of the scores of all the football that is taking place right now. And it's half-time in the WSL and the Manchester derby. So let's check in with John Dunn.
It's Manchester United 0, Manchester City 2, the top 2, and as you say, a local derby. It is the leaders that are ahead at the break. Less than a minute gone. United goalkeeper Tullis Joyce pulling off a super save to deny Alex Greenwood. Lauren Hemp had hit the bar before City got their deserved lead. It was Vivian Miedemar with a header from an Alex Greenwood corner inside the 6-yard area. That was on 17 minutes. 2 minutes later, it was 2-0 to the leaders. Miedemar again, another header, this time from a Kasparide corner from the right-hand side. That was her 13th of the season. Tullis Joyce has made 2 more instinctive stops to deny leading scorer Bunny Shaw and to deny Miedemar a first-half hat-trick. Rebecca Kanak thought she'd scored City's third. That was ruled out. That was from a Greenwood corner. City dominant, and if they can contain the lead, keep the lead at the end of the game, they will be 11 points clear at the top of the WSL table. Half-time, United 0, City 2.
John, thank you very much. Remember, we'll keep you up to date with all of those games in the WSL and in the EFL as well, where Notts County, we should say, have doubled their lead at Harrogate. And it means they move into the automatic places as things stand in League 2. But there are a load of 3 o'clock games that will get underway a little bit later on. And that could change, obviously, with those teams in action. This is the Saturday session. We've got plenty coming up on what is a busy few hours here on talkSPORT. listening into the Saturday session on talkSPORT with Scott Minto and me, Natalie Sawyer. We're with you until 5 o'clock this afternoon. Let's run you through the latest scores of the football that's taking place right now. In the Manchester derby, it's half-time with the leaders, Manchester City, 2-0 up then in this game at Old Trafford. Earlier on, Liverpool won the Merseyside derby 3-2 as they won at Everton. A little bit later on, Arsenal host Tottenham and what is a 5:30 kickoff. So a big North London derby coming your way later on. In League Two, they're into added on time in that game between Harrogate and Notts County. And Notts County are still 2-0 up in this one, and it really does see two sides in contrasting form because Harrogate are in the relegation zone, just a point off safety. Not been a good afternoon for them. And as for Notts County, well, the result moves them back into the automatic promotion places, albeit there are games still to come kicking off at 3 that could change the complexion of that. There's also Premiership Rugby coming your way today, live on talkSPORT 2. We've got a triple header for you, and it's got underway at Villa Park, where Gloucester are taking on Leicester, and it's Leicester who are in the playoff positions, who are going well. 29-12 they lead in this one. We'll continue to update you on everything that happens throughout this afternoon, with most of the EFL games and non-league matches kicking off at 3. But the latest episode of How to Win the World Cup is now live for you as Matt Ford and Alex Brooker, your hosts, speak to the former England skipper Stuart Pearce, all about defenders ahead of this World Cup and why having a strong defence will always be more important than having a strong attack. That's so Stuart Pearce says. That is How to Win the World Cup, available via your usual podcast provider. And I'm guessing, Scott, you're going to be in the Defenders Union agreeing with Stuart Pearce. It's all about defence than attack.
Not 100%. I think it's just about the balance. I mean, it sounds pretty sensible, really, but it actually is. You know, there's no point in just sitting back all the time and saying we'll play for a clean sheet. You're not creating chances. So you need to have the right blend and the right balance, and that's defensively and going forward on the left and going right. So we can talk about Jed Spence in a bit. But yeah, if you look at the title that Liverpool won last season, they didn't have the best defence. Arsenal did. They didn't win it. So it's about that balance. And
obviously, it all comes down to who Thomas Tuchel decides in the end will make that 26-man squad, as you've mentioned there.
Yeah, and that's not me disagreeing with Stuart Pearce, by the way. Because
no one ever does. No one ever would. And I should say, actually, Stuart Pearce, who was on earlier on talkSPORT, he is going to one of the FA Trophy semi-finals. Wealdstone, a club, of course, he knows very well, who he played with. Started, I think, his career pretty much at. He's going to that game today as they take on Marine in the semi-finals as they look to get to that final. But talking of defenders and talking of the choices that Thomas Tuchel has to make, one of the big decisions he's made in this international window was to bring back Ben White. Mixed reaction from fans to him in general, the call-up, him coming on last night and everything else that went with it. Let's just hear what the England boss Thomas Tuchel then had to say to our England correspondent Faye Carruthers on the boos that White received last night.
Disappointed if our players are booed. I understood that it happened before to players and they went through it and took it on the chin. Still, I don't like it. Still, I'm disappointed. I will always protect my players. He did so well in training and he almost scored for us, so it could have been a perfect comeback. But it was mixed reactions. It was not only boos, some cheered, so let's hope we put this behind us.
I mean, it wasn't as close to the most memorable debut of Jonathan Woodgate's at Real Madrid, if we will remember what happened with that one. I am to remember that as well. I mean, my memory's shocking, but that's always there. But obviously, Ben White, comes on, gets some boos thrown at him from some of the fans, scores the goal that looks like it could be the winner for England, and then gives away the penalty that leads to Uruguay scoring. I know you said that wasn't a penalty.
Never.
But first of all, what do you make of the reaction some of those fans aimed at him?
I think, look, we discussed this yesterday, and I will start off and I'll finish by saying I believe in redemption. I believe in giving people a second chance. But he walked out on England. He didn't just walk out on Steve Holland and Gareth Southgate. He walked out on England. And he refused to come back. And even when Lee Carsley was in charge, he said no. And yeah, the early part of the Thomas Tuchel reign, he'd been injured or perhaps other players were playing better than him. So you've got to expect it. You've got to take it. And we've still not had an explanation. And to be honest with you, it's mainly Arsenal fans I hear defending him. I don't really hear many others sort of doing that. And look, if it was a completely personal issue that he had, just come out and say it's personal. And I think most people would back off. But 3.5 years on, it didn't seem like it was personal, or it was professionally personal with his relationship with Steve Holland and Gareth Southgate. So, look, it is, to be fair, it looks like he's a big enough boy to handle it. He's playing for one of the biggest clubs in Europe. I think professionally speaking, I think in terms of how he's currently playing, he isn't justified being in the England squad. What I would say is I think it tells you even more that Trent has no chance of going to the World Cup.
Yes, I think that is a big indication. But just quickly going back onto that and the whole, what we really don't know happened in Qatar for why Ben White decided to leave the England camp. And I know there's a lot of speculation over a fallout with Steve Holland. We don't know what was said for that to happen, but that is obviously some of the speculation. What I found really interesting, speaking to Faye Carruthers on Thursday after she'd spoken to Thomas Tuchel, she had said that Tuchel had sort of said that some of the players who have not been part of the squad properly or certainly weren't involved last night haven't yet seen Ben White. This is what she said. And that there were going to be clear the air talks with him on Friday. So that's just obviously yesterday. That in itself alarmed me.
Absolutely.
Because you're thinking, well, if you're having to have clear the air talks, that means it's more, surely, than just a fallout with a coach.
Well,
I don't know. Look, I'm with you. Redemption. I'm all for giving people a second chance. But yes, that in itself alarmed me because surely you want a good, united team and squad.
It just tells me that he's got an apology to make.
Yeah.
And if he has an apology to make, then something, the fault does lie with him. I've said this before where, look, I don't know Gareth Southgate really, really well. I've played against him a few times. I've met him a few times. Steve Holland, I've met him a few times. I don't know them really well as people, but we kind of know enough about them, don't we, to know that actually their biggest, strongest point as an England team was getting everyone reunited and fostering that team spirit. So these are good people wanting to try and create a good atmosphere. And I was listening to Kickoff on Monday night, and Adrian says he doesn't know if it's 100% sure, but he heard that everyone had been given sort of laptops to look at opposition players and look at that and how would you play against them? And he didn't even look at it. Now, whether that's true or whether it's not, my point is I couldn't agree more with what you're saying. If he has to have clear the air talks with the players, then surely he has to just hold his hand up and say, look, whatever I did was wrong. I'm now... And bottom line is redemption. But in answer to your initial question, what do I think about the boos? They were expected.
Yeah.
And England fans are entitled to boo if they want to. The only thing I'd say now is you've made your point. If he plays again, or even if he gets into the squad, which I don't think he will in the World Cup squad, and Alex Crook said yesterday, what's the point of stirring up this hornet's nest if he's probably not even going to get in the squad? And again, it's like, well, why don't you call Trent up? Because he's playing for Real Madrid at the moment. I do understand, actually, even just from a footballing point of view. I've seen a lot of Real Madrid this season. I've spoken to a lot of people who cover every single game. And they say Trent, he defensively still has that issue. And Fede Valverde does look after him in that. And the games that I worked on, the Benfica games, the Manchester City games, I saw that as well. So I understand if that kind of type of attacking fullback that's not particularly great from a defensive point of view is not what Thomas Tuchel wants, but still he's so talented. You telling me, one, he can't get in the 35, and two, if one person drops out in that supposed right back position, he shouldn't be called in? Because if we're at the World Cup and we're playing like the Euros of Slovakia, Slovenia, whatever, and we're trying to break them down, we're going to have all the ball. It's going to be a bit like, and even more so, a Uruguay. So we need those attacking players who are able to open up a defence in the way that not many people can, but Trent can. He's one of our most talented players. So in terms of Ben White, he's got to take it. I hope the fans have just made their point and they move on and they don't do it again. But go back to Trent. I think it's a big story that he's not going to be picked.
But just as a whole then, and I do want to get back to the Trent thing, but you can't judge a player on one game, can you? So, for example, I realise he's probably going to play a stronger 11 on Tuesday against Japan, live on talkSPORT. But surely, in a way, some of these players who've been given this audition, as we're calling it, should be given another chance, because then they've had a few more days to work together. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I know what you mean. There's not that time.
I totally agree with you.
Right.
And I agree exactly.
Right.
That maybe this is the wrong time to have done it. But then again, there's not many international windows. So that's probably the problem that you have with this. But it just sort of feels like, well, you're only judging a player maybe on a half game of football, which, as we've noted and you mentioned, Uruguay, not an easy team to come up against.
No. He had a choice in the sort of the autumn internationals. There were qualifications, but really we should be beating those type of teams. And don't get me wrong, it sort of got better and it was great. But that was a time as well to kind of, look, I don't want to be arrogant here, but England are going to beat these teams. We're going to qualify, so let's start a little bit earlier. But you could turn around and say, no, we needed to make sure we were bang on it, and the March internationals, therefore, is the only time to do it. And now I'd rather have a very nervy one audition than no auditions at all.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's true in itself. And maybe that's how Thomas Tuchel looks at it as well. We're going to continue to discuss the whole England situation. I know a few of you have already been in touch with your thoughts on it, so we'll get to those as well. Just to confirm, Notts County did beat Harrogate by 2-0. That moves them up to third then in that final automatic promotion spot in League Two. But one team who'll look to get back into that will be Cambridge, and they heads to Barnet in a 3:00 kickoff. So we'll keep you across that and all of the EFL games and plenty more as well. As I mentioned, we'll continue to discuss England and hear from a former captain, Sir David Beckham, no less, who was on drive yesterday.
You played in Korea and Japan, didn't you? World Cup in 2002. Did you find it hard, the weather conditions to play in?
They are tough, and in South Africa as well. We played a game, and then the altitude, the ball moves different and everything. And if you're not used to it, as we know, we all love to go on holiday in the summer, but playing football, running around in that heat and that weather, it takes its toll at the time, and we're just not a nation that's used to that. So that's one of the major things I look at when it comes to that tournament being over there.
What about strikers? We know Harry Kane's going to go, but if you looked at the Euros, he was injured, wasn't he? And Gareth Southgate was still playing game. Maybe they didn't trust other strikers in the squads. What do you think of tonight? Do you think Solanke and Calvert-Lewin have to... Session here on talkSPORT with Scott Minto and Natalie Sawyer. Let's run you through the latest scores of all the football and rugby that's taking place right now. The Manchester derby in the WSL has just got underway in the second half. City still leading that one by 2-0. And don't forget, of course, City are top of the table, looking to win the title for the first time in 10 years. Earlier on, Liverpool, who've been struggling a little bit in the WSL, they beat Everton by 3-2. And there is a North London derby as well coming your way as Arsenal look to get back into the Champions League places, taking on Tottenham in a 5:30 kickoff. In League Two, Notts County were the big winners in the early kickoff. They beat Harrogate by 2-0. The reason it's a big win moves them back into the automatic promotion places. But Cambridge, who fall out, are in action from 3 at Barnet as they look to get back then into those top 3 spots. In the rugby, which is live for you on talkSPORT 2, we're past the 70-minute mark. Leicester
going really well against Gloucester. 29-12 they lead in that one, and they've had a really, really good start to this season, having won 7 of their last 8 league matches. And it's all about the Slater Cup in that one. Of course, the winner is awarded in honour of Ed Slater, who had to retire from rugby back in 2022 after being diagnosed with motor neurone disease, a captain of both sides. And it looks as though Leicester are going to win that once again. Plenty of live football then for us to keep you up to date with, and rugby as well, and we'll do that throughout the rest of the Saturday session. But let's get back onto England matters, and for a full England debrief, do make sure you tune into the latest episode of the talkSPORT Daily podcast, as the former England captain Stuart Pearce joined Adrian Durham and Jim Proudfoot. The boys discussed Ben White being booed by England fans after scoring. There's the Phil Foden dilemma, something we've already talked about, and also delve into why James Garner could be the Three Lions' mini Valverde. Certainly that's what Thomas Tuchel referred to him as. That's the talkSPORT Daily podcast, available on all of your podcast platforms. We're going to get to England in just a moment. There has been another goal in the Manchester derby in the WSL. John Dunn, which way has this gone?
It's gone, another one for Manchester City. 4 minutes gone in the second half. Manchester United 0. The leaders, Manchester City 3. Kirsten Kasparai is the goal scorer. Blistering break then the left-hand side, led by the scorer of the 2 goals in the first half, Vivian Miedema. On to Lauren Hem. Hem's ball just over leading scorer Bunny Shaw, but the right-back Kasparai arriving on this near post in front of the travelling Manchester City fans to steer one home. Brilliant start to the second half. They could be 11 points clear by the end of this game. Manchester United 0, Manchester City 3.
It's been a terrific afternoon for Manchester City then, as John says, as they look to really consolidate their place at the top of the table and look to win the WSL title for the first time since 2016. Let's get on to the subject of England once more and get to some of your messages that you have been getting in touch with. And I wanted to get to the James Garner. Here we go. Barry, who says, England's player of the match last night, and we've not even mentioned him, which is James Garner. Yeah. He says he can play in so many positions and consistently as well. Surely he's got to be on the plane.
I sat here yesterday and I said, no, it was Tuesday, and I said to Hugh that I think he's a Thomas Tuchel player. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's quick, he's aggressive, he's really good without the ball, but he's very good with the ball as well. Great at set pieces. Saw him knock in a great cross with his left foot, and his right foot is great. The set pieces, I think he's almost exactly what Thomas Tuchel wants. My worry for him is it just 6 months too late?
Right.
So we talk about that one audition. Well, he certainly passed that audition. And then it's a question of, right, let's get my definites. Who am I left with? What positions do I need to add a little bit more to? And if it is one of those sort of holding midfielders, then, I say holding midfielder, he's probably more ideal as an 8 because he can get around the pitch so well. I couldn't agree more with that text. I thought he put in a really good performance, especially considering it was his debut.
Yeah, very much so. Matt from Nottingham raises a really good point, actually. And when we were talking about the subject of number 10s, the creative players in that England squad, one player who is actually not even in it is Morgan Gibbs-White. And Matt says all these players in the England squad, yet the joint highest scoring English midfielder in the Premier League is overlooked for some reason. He says Morgan Gibbs-White deserves to be there.
The fact that he's not in, and I worry for everybody who's not in that squad, apart from maybe Ollie Watkins. And when I say that, I mean, it's almost like, I suppose with Morgan Gibbs-White, he could absolutely just nail it in the way that he played really well against Spurs and help Forest go away from the relegation zone and perhaps even win the Europa League. Ollie Watkins has the ability as a striker. And what happens after he didn't get in the squad? He scores against West Ham.
Yeah.
Now, if he scores 6 or 7 in the remaining games, then he kind of almost has to be in. Morgan Gibbs-White, I think, is going to have to absolutely have an incredible end to the season, because we talked about the number 10s and that we've got, and we think that maybe Phil Foden won't get in there. I'm not quite sure, depending on how many 10s he wants to take, that Morgan Gibbs-White is in the top 3 of those 10s.
Well, as you say, the fact that he's not even been selected might be that message that he's not in his thoughts as of yet. But as you say, if he has a great end to the season, leads Forest to the Europa League title, as well as, as get them away from the relegation battle that they've been involved in, maybe it's difficult to overlook him. You'd like to think that it's not completely shut to some of these players.
No, and of course we'd like to think that.
I know.
And Thomas Tuchel says what he says.
I do live in a fairyland sometimes.
No, we all want to think that, and I think the players have to think that. The players that aren't involved or weren't called up have to think that. I feel for Morgan Gibbs-White that he's in a position that we are so strong. We are so strong in terms of those number 10s and attacking midfielders as well, that it's almost like, if he could show he could be a second striker in the way that Jared Bowen can, Marcus Rashford can, Anthony Gordon can. There's another string to his bow. I just think you're right, because he's not in there now, I can't see him being in there unless he absolutely nails it from here on in.
Which is why sometimes I think when you look at like a Cole Palmer, which I know you said you think he should be in that squad, maybe not having the best of time of it at the moment for Chelsea, but we saw in that 20 minutes or so that yesterday that he did have a spark. But he has a versatility to him. He can play on different positions. I think that's just obviously a major factor for any manager to consider, because you might need to tinker things.
Yeah, and Cole Palmer, his best position is as a 10. But actually, you could argue his best season, the first season under Pochettino, was just off the right, coming inside. He can play on the left. We've seen him do that. He could play as a false 9. He can do pretty much everything. And I feel he's already shown, again, if we're to win the World Cup now, we have to have players that have special moments. Ruud Gullit used to say to us back in the day at Chelsea, he said, I want you to do 2 things that can affect the game. So we all looked at Gianfranco Zola and said, go on then, you can do it, Franco. But that's what he wants. And going forwards, that's what you need. Sometimes it's about controlling the tempo of a game, and over there, the conditions are going to be very difficult. So keeping the ball will be important. We want to see that forward pass. We want to see that kind of, in the way that Bruno Fernandes, he risks losing it. He's not got the fear of losing the ball. He wants to try and create something, a goal-scoring opportunity. Over there with those conditions, heat, humidity, Emma Hayes was saying it, and she's over there, how debilitating it is, the humidity, even more so. So we're going to need to be careful picking and choosing when we play our forward passes. But I just feel Morgan Gibbs-White is not as versatile as a Cole Palmer. Jude Bellingham has to go. Morgan Rogers has nailed it in an England shirt, even if he's gone off just a little bit in a Villa one. How many do you take?
Thankfully it's not our decision, is it? It's not easy, though. We promised that we'd hear from Sir David Beckham. I think it's only right that we do hear from the former England captain who joined Drive yesterday. He spoke about how he fully backs Thomas Tuchel.
Obviously, with Thomas as a gaffer now, I think we're in the best place that we can be, in all honesty. I think we've got a very young, talented squad with a great captain leading us, in the best form probably of his life with Harry. I think he's a great leader. And I think Thomas is so meticulous with, how he picks a squad, how he runs the squad. He's obviously had past success in the game, but I think that what he brings is how meticulous he will be with every single detail that the England team actually need to perform in this World Cup.
I mean, when he was appointed, obviously there was some negativity about it, some not quite agreeing and having Thomas Tuchel in charge of England. Do you share the same belief, though, from what Sir David Beckham was saying there?
Yeah. Look, in an ideal world, I want an Englishman running the England team, but Eddie Howe's perhaps not ready for that, and he's the only real candidate, I think. Although I would at least have asked the question, and it sounds like they didn't, the FA. Thomas Tuchel's a winner. He's a proven winner. That's what we want, isn't it? That's what we want to win the World Cup. Gareth Southgate, I still think, even though I sort of defended him in the first 3 tournaments, the last one I thought he was ready to go and had lost it a little bit. But he's got to semi-finals. He's got to finals. And now the next stage is to win the thing. I do feel for Thomas Tuchel in a way because of the conditions. It's going to be very difficult. It would suit the South Americans as well as the Spanish and perhaps even the French. But I'm 100% behind him. I don't agree with every decision he's made, but he's a proven winner. And you know what, Nat? He doesn't care. He doesn't care what we all think.
We can see
60 million England managers out there. He's the one with the decision, and he does not care what we think. And I love that.
No, and I agree with you. And again, that was something that we were discussing on Thursday about, that he controls the narrative. It's all about what he wants and the messages he wants to get out there. And you know, the whole Trent Alexander-Arnold situation is interesting in the sense that he's not really saying too much about it, but you kind of feel there's an underlying issue there that we're not quite aware of, maybe. You could even extend that to maybe the forward situation. Why was Ollie Watkins not brought into this when he actually, he's not had a great season by his own standards, but he's still one of England's best striking options. You could argue Ivan Toney to a degree, who's doing very well in Saudi Arabia, was brought into an England squad, has never been seen since. What's gone on there? Has there been stuff that's gone on behind the scenes? And something that Thomas Tuchel said, actually, on the coverage of the absence of Trent Alexander-Arnold, he mentioned this: it's not about collecting talent, but it's arriving with the best team, which for me sends a message there.
Do you know what? If it's a purely, I mean, I'd take him, right? So I would 100% take him. I think he's I think in terms of pure talent, he's in the top 3 of English footballers right now. But he plays it right back. And if you're playing in the quarter-final, semi-final or final of a World Cup, you know you're going to be coming up against a world-class player. Now, I go back to the game in the Bernabeu, which I had the privilege of being on there for talkSPORT in the first 20 minutes, where Jeremy Doku went past him 3 times. And Fede Valverde came out and helped him out. And then later on, actually, Trent did really well in one-on-one situations. But if Thomas Tuchel was to come out and say, do you know what? Almost a bit like Mikel Arteta, it's quite obvious, even though Arteta hasn't said it, he likes 4 big, strong defenders as a back 4. Miles Lewis-Skelly is a player that I thought last season would go on and perhaps win 100 caps. And he might need to get away from Arsenal, because I really like him, but he can't develop if he's not playing in the first team. But I think Thomas Tuchel is almost looking as if he wants defenders to defend. And in a way, I don't have a problem with that, as much as I would still put Trent on the plane. The way he answered some questions, especially to Faye, when he hadn't spoken to Trent, I thought he was so sure. I thought there's something else here. I don't know what it is. I've no idea what it is. But he could have just said, no, I haven't had the chance to speak. Things have been pretty busy. I'm definitely going to speak to Trent. I think he's a great player, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It was 1 or 2 word answers.
Yeah. But this is what I mean. This is what, when he's talking about, it's not about collecting talent. So that's him saying it's not about just talent in this team. It's about the squad unity, which goes back onto obviously what Gareth Southgate was doing with England previously as well.
Look at Sir Alf Ramsey. Yeah. You know, he didn't bring Jimmy Greaves, our greatest ever striker, back into, and you know, and look what happened.
Yes, yeah.
So I get it. I back him to a point, even though I said I don't agree with every decision he's made. I think he's the right man to make these decisions. Let's see how we get on in the World Cup.
Indeed. We haven't got long to find out either. It'll all be live on talkSPORT as well for you. It's going to be a busy summer for you and for us as well. Now it's time for a bit of this.
The talkSPORT 20k giveaway.
Yes, it's competition time, and talkSPORT are giving one lucky listener the chance to bag £20,000. That's completely tax-free. Here's how you can enter. You might want a pen and paper handy for this one. For your chance to win, you can simply text the word WIN to 83338. So that's text the word WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate, or you can call this number, which is where you might want that pen and paper, 0343 418 7260. That's 0343 418 7260. The lines close on the 9th of April at 4 o'clock, and that's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. It's for 18s and over, for UK residents only as well. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's can be found at talksport.com. Just a reminder then, for your chance to win £20,000, why not text the word WIN to 83338 right now. OK, let's get back to the Manchester derby, see how this one is getting on. John Dunn is right across it.
Just over an hour gone here at Old Trafford. Manchester United 0, Manchester City 3. Second versus first in a Manchester derby as a shot comes in from Mallard for Manchester United. They haven't had a shot on target yet. Such has been the leaders' dominance. 2 in 2 minutes in the first half. 2 headers from Vivian Miedemar with inside the first 4 minutes of the second half. They got their third through Kirsten Kasperai. And City now almost a training ground exercise, stroking the ball around, keeping possession. They will go 11 points clear at the top of the WSL, assuming they keep this victory, which they surely will. All eyes will be on Arsenal later on. Arsenal will have 3 games in hand on Manchester City. City, they might be the team to watch, but it is difficult to see anyone but Manchester City lifting the WSL title. They'll have 3 games to go after this one. It's Manchester United 0, Manchester City 3.
John, thank you very much. OK, don't forget, this is non-league day as well. So no Premier League, no Championship. A number of EFL matches have been called off as well. There are some taking place. We'll update you and keep you across all of those once they get underway from 3. But we'd love to know if you're going to a non-league game, perhaps for your first time. Maybe you're just fancying a different stadium to head to. Why not get in touch and let us know? 03717 223344. That's the number to WhatsApp us on or call us on, or you can text us to 81089. And we'll look ahead to those games, as I mentioned, taking place in the EFL and National League next. Listening to the Saturday session on talkSPORT. It's Scott Minto and Natalie Sawyer here with you until 5 this afternoon, and lots already happening and lots for us to keep across as well. Let's get another update, shall we, on what's happening in that Manchester derby in the WSL at Old Trafford. John Dunn, am I doing a John Dunn update?
65 minutes gone. It's Manchester United 0, Manchester City 3. City slowing things down now at a training ground pace as they see this one out to extend their lead at the top of the WSL table, which will be up to 11 points. 2 first-half goals from Vivian Miedemar, 2 headers within 2 minutes of each other. Tullis Joyce in the Manchester United goal, having to make some brilliant saves. And 4 minutes into the second half, Kirsten Kasparai scoring from close range to send these City fans into full voice away to my right-hand side. 66 gone. United 0, City 3.
John, thank you very much. Earlier on in the Merseyside derby, Liverpool won 3-2 at Goodison Park. And there is a North London derby as well in the WSL at the Emirates as Arsenal take on Tottenham in what is a 5:30 kickoff. There's Premiership Rugby on talkSPORT 2 for you throughout the day. We've already just heard Leicester beat Gloucester by 36 points to 17, which means they win the Slater Cup. That one being staged at Villa Park and cements Leicester's place in the top 4 as well. A bit of a struggle for Gloucester this season. Shortly, you'll be able to tune into Bristol Bears against Harlequins, and that one is at the Principality Stadium in Cardiff, crossing over the Severn Bridge. As I say, that will be on talkSPORT 2. Plenty of live football as well, kicking off from 3. Let's take you to one of the games in League One, which sees Stockport take on AFC Wimbledon. Mark Wilson is there for us.
Yeah, Stockport start of the day, 17 points off the automatic spots, but 1 point ahead of 7th place. They do have a couple of games in hand, so this is a good opportunity to take another step forward to another League One playoff appearance. AFC Wimbledon safely mid-table, won one of their last 7 away. That was at bottom of the table, Port Vale, and they arrive here without their 2 top scorers, Marcus Brown and Matty Stevens, who've got 21 league goals between them. Team-wise, Dave Chandler makes 4 changes for counties. Hills, Eden, Bailey and Wotton, their top scorer, are out. Wotton is on the bench. Incumbate Alowu Alou, Stokes and Sidibe. And for the visitors, Johnny Jackson's side had a solid season on their League One return. Maybe their danger is their season is just starting to peter out. They're without Stevens, Brown and Hippolyte. In come Reeves, Bagil and Nelson at Edgley Park. It's Stockport against AFC Wimbledon.
Mark, just a quick one. It's really tight, isn't it, when it comes to the contesting of the playoff places. Do you think Stockport have enough to secure one? And what about AFC Wimbledon? They're 10 points off it, but plenty of games still to play. Do you think they have any chance?
Yeah, look, I think realistically AFC Wimbledon are going to run out of time. I don't think there's too many teams between them and the playoffs. For Stockport, they should get in. I think this next couple of weeks they've got a Wembley appearance in the trophy, haven't they? That'll be maybe catching one eye for them. But if they can pick up a couple of results with those games in hand, I think they will be in it. I think under Dave Challoner, they're a really solid side, Stockport. I think it'll be a force to be reckoned with in the playoffs.
OK, Mark, we'll hear from you more then once that one gets underway. We should say that AFC Wimbledon 14th at the moment. If they finish higher than 15th, that will be their highest ever finish in an EFL season. So kudos to Johnny Jackson and the team for doing that. Doing a really good job. Charlton, oh, look at you. Charlton loving.
No, he's doing a great job there.
I haven't even mentioned Brentford, but you brought up Charlton already.
You mentioned Ivan Toney.
I did, didn't I? Should have said the former Brentford striker. Didn't do it. Missed a chance. Elsewhere in League One, playoff chasing Reading are hosting relegation-threatened Wigan. Tom Clayton is keeping across this one at the Select Car Leasing Stadium. Tom?
Yeah, good afternoon. Reading have undergone something of a renaissance under Liam Richardson. Only 2 defeats in 14 games, including last week's 1-0 defeat away at Stevenage. Richardson will be thrilled to have a whole week off after 5 games in 15 days up until last week. He's made a couple of changes as Fraser and Cherawar come in for Keane and the injured Randell Williams. Meanwhile, Wigan have won 4 of their last 8 and are 3 clear of the bottom 3 with today's game in hand. Top scorer Joe Taylor's hit 9 goals this season, 6 of which in his last 7. He leads the line again today with Callum Wright's return in place of Caelan Vickers, Wigan's only change from victory at home against Exeter in midweek. Reading have only lost 1 of their last 7 against Wigan, and both are hoping for strong ends to the season at the Select Car Leasing Stadium. It's Reading v Wigan.
Tom, just a quick question on Wigan. Of course, we brought in Gary Caldwell, and they've been unbeaten since he's come in. But as you mentioned, it is pretty tight at the bottom end of the table. From those 3 games that he's been in charge of, though, as I say, it's not been a bad start for him. Do you think they, likewise, mentioning about the Stockport scenario with the playoffs, did they have enough to keep themselves out of the bottom 4?
I think they do. If you look at the other teams that are around them in the League One relegation fight, Exeter really struggling and Wigan just beaten them. Blackpool, Rotherham, Northampton and Port Vale making up those bottom 5. I think, to be honest, it's going to be 4 of those 5 that are going to go down. Wigan got a fairly kind run towards the end of the season. They play Leyton Orient, they play Mansfield, they play Rotherham and Port Vale. I think Wigan have got enough. They have been troubled at times this season since the introduction of Gary Caldwell, but they look like a better team and they'll be looking to try and do something today. But they do have the worst away record in the league, only 2 wins out of 17 away games, so a big task for them today against Reading, who could do with a win themselves.
Indeed. We'll talk later. Tom, thank you very much. A number of teams who are involved in the relegation battle in League One are in action this afternoon, so we will be right across it for you, as we will with what's happening in the National League. Ian Abrahams is watching the league leaders Rochdale as they travel to mid-table Sutton.
Yeah, Rochdale 3 points clear of York. York are home to Woking this afternoon, and Rochdale on 95 points with 6 games to go. They made a couple of changes this afternoon. Tyler Smith out front for Devante Rodney, the most eye-catching. 2 changes for Sutton as well after 2 of their players were recalled by AFC Wimbledon. Nothing really for Sutton to play for, but for Rochdale, the next 6 games could see them return to the EFL. We've just got underway. It's Sutton 0, Rochdale 0.
And I know, Ian, you've had a little chat with Rochdale's legendary striker, Ian Henderson. Let's have a little listen.
Like most seasons, it comes to this part of the season where people have got a lot to play for, whether it's trying to get promotion or to stave off relegation, or to earn new contracts. So it's always going to be really competitive, irrespective of what position we are in the table.
Yeah, he's on the bench today, Ian, but it's really tight at the top. Rochdale, as we've mentioned, lead the league by 3 points. Do you think they're going to return to the EFL, though, next season?
Well, both they and York have been stuttering a little bit of late. York have got slightly more firepower. Ollie Pearce is the league's top scorer. They've scored over 100 goals this season. But Ian Henderson, just to make Scott feel a bit old, is 41 and still playing, Scott. Just putting it out there, my friend.
Thank you, mate. I love you.
That's all right. You still could be playing. Final game of the season. I'll just put it out there. Final game of the season at Scotland, Rochdale v York. Oh. If there's 3 points between them or any left, I'd love to be at that game.
Oh, that will be a cracker. We'll look forward to more updates then from this game throughout the afternoon. But yeah, if it can go down to that final game of the season, as much as it will be nervous for Rochdale and York fans, it'll be great for everybody else just to see how that one pans out. Have you been involved in last day drama?
Yeah, I have. It's a horrible feeling, to be totally honest with you. So, now Moose has said that, I'll make sure he's not on that. No, he's
what, you have that power?
No, I really don't. No, very versatile, Moose. No, it's horrible, but we kind of want that as a part of us from the human side. Just as long as it's not us, we don't mind.
Of course,
seeing
absolutely.
others in...
Unless you benefit from it as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, next we're going to be speaking to the former Brighton players Glenn Murray and Bobby Zamora on what is non-league day.
With Mo Salah leaving, a lot of commentators have talked about the fact there's a lack of icons in the Premier League. Obviously, last year we had De Bruyne leave. You've had, over the course of the last few years, you've had Ronaldo back fleetingly. You've had Ibrahimovic here fleetingly. But the big boys don't come to the Premier League, do they? I mean, Haaland is probably the only global icon that is still there. Would that be fair? I mean, Son's not there anymore. De Bruyne's not there anymore. Salah's going. Kane, Ronaldo, Zlatan, all gone. Mbappe, Vinicius, Bellingham, Messi, Neymar. They would rather play elsewhere. Why?
That's a very good question. I don't think there's as many superstars today as the kind of has been in the past. Obviously, Messi, Ronaldo were the two superstars, and no one could get anywhere near them. And you know.
This is the Saturday session on talkSPORT. I'm Natalie Sawyer and delighted to have the former Chelsea and West Ham left-back Scott Minto alongside me in the studio. During this hour, we're going to be speaking to the former Brighton strikers Glenn Murray and Bobby Zamora. They'll be discussing the relegation battle in the Premier League. We will, I should say. And look at Mo Salah's departure from Liverpool too. But we're also keeping you across all of the live sport that is taking place right now. And we're going to take you first of all to the WSL for the Manchester Derby and find out what's happening in this one as the leaders look to continue their push for the title. John Dutton.
And we're heading into the final 10 minutes of normal time, and the leaders are going to extend that advantage at the top of the table to 11 points. 3-0 up here, Manchester United 0, City 3. Miedemar with 2 in 2 minutes in the first half. Kasparai early in the second, and City are easing themselves through to victory. It's United 0, City 3.
John, thank you very much. Earlier on, Liverpool beat Everton at Goodison 3-2 in the Merseyside derby. And later on, the North London derby sees Arsenal take on Tottenham at the Emirates at 5:30. Let's take you into the EFL that's got underway this afternoon. And there's already been an early goal at Edgeley Park between Stockport and AFC Wimbledon. Mark Wilson.
Yeah, dream start. Stockport County 1, AFC Wimbledon 0. It was great work from Tanto Alafi down the left touchline. He nudged the ball down the line. Ben Osborne raced onto it, putting a great cross, and there was Adama Sidibe into the side today, recalled, firing into the top corner. Stockport County 1, AFC Wimbledon 0.
Great start for Stockport then in their push for promotion. What about the early stages between Reading and Wigan? Tom Clayton.
Reading 0, Wigan 0. It's all been Wigan so far to start this game after 6 minutes. There has been an opportunity on the left-hand side that's come down the corner, but that was overhit and eventually went for a foul. Reading just starting to find their feet in this match, though. It's as it stands, currently 6 minutes in, Reading 0, Wigan 0.
OK, there are 5 games in League One that are getting underway now. 10 overall in League Two. Earlier on, Notts County beat Harrogate by 2-0 to move up to third into the all-important automatic promotion places. But Cambridge might have something to say on that. They're in action right now at Barnet, looking to get back into the top 3. We'll keep you across all of the games then in Leagues 1 and 2 and the FA Trophy semi-finals throughout this afternoon. We'll also be across the National League as well with the league leaders Rochdale. They're at mid-table. Sutton and Ian Abrahams is there.
And we've played 8 minutes here at Gander Green Lane. Still Sutton 0, Rochdale 0. Sutton actually have been more on the front foot than Rochdale. Not either goalkeeper has been forced into a save yet. The weather can't make its mind up. Heavy rain as the teams came out now has given way to rather pleasant, a little chilly sunshine. No goals yet anywhere in the National League today. So same for York at home to Woking. But here it's Sutton 0, Rochdale 0.
There are some international friendlies as well taking place. Scotland are at Hampden later on as they host Japan, who then make the trip to Wembley to take on Thomas Tuchel's England, live on talkSPORT on Tuesday. But at Stadium MK right now, South Korea are taking on Ivory Coast, and it's Ivory Coast who are 2-0 up in this one with goals from Evan Gesson and Simon Adingra as well. So good friendly for Ivory Coast to be getting ahead, of course, of the World Cup, and they will be in a group with Germany, Curacao and Ecuador. What about in the Super League? This one has just got underway. It's Wigan Warriors who are taking on the Huddersfield Giants. No points as of yet in this one, but let's not forget Wigan have made a brilliant start to the season. 5 wins out of 5. They're top of the table and taking on a Huddersfield Giants team who are yet to win. They are bottom with 5 straight losses. 3 back-to-back Premiership rugby games are on talkSPORT 2 today. And in the first, it finished Gloucester 17, Leicester Tigers 36. This is how the final try sounded.
Harry Wells with the try, the 6th of the afternoon for the Leicester Tigers. He knew the law. As soon as the ball touches the whitewash, he could dive through and touch it down. That's exactly what he does.
And at 3:30, the next instalment between Bristol Bears and Harlequins takes place at the Principality Stadium in Wales. Alfie Reynolds will be on commentary duty for talkSPORT 2.
And the second match of 3 on talkSPORT 2 this afternoon is here in Cardiff. Playoff chasing Bristol hosts a heavily rotated Harlequins side. Bristol are 5th in the league after losing to Leicester last weekend, whereas Quins, by their own admission, are building for next season and have an eye on next weekend's Champions Cup last 16. It's Bristol against Harlequins in front of 45,000 in Cardiff.
And also, later on, Saracens host Northampton at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, with Northampton top of the table. So lots going on, as you can well imagine. This is certainly the place to be to keep up to date with everything. This is the Saturday session on talkSPORT. OK, lots going on, as you can imagine. And as it is in the March international break, there is what is known as non-league day, where clubs further down the Football League pyramid look for fans from the Premier League, the Championship, Leagues 1 and 2, to attend one of their matches, just to say you've been, you've contributed, you've helped out, for example. Delighted to say, joining us to talk about this brilliant initiative are Glenn Murray and Bobby Zamora, of course, former strikers for Brighton and Hove Albion. They're actually watching two Sussex-based teams go head-to-head as second-place Haywards Heath Town host third-bottom AFC Vardinians in the Southern Combination Football League Premier Division. There you go. Let's say a very good afternoon to Bobby and Glenn. How are you both?
Very good, thank you. We're 1-0 up here as well, by the way, Haywards Heath.
Oh, OK. All right. Was it a good goal?
We never got to see it. We still in the draw. We was doing a few meet and greets, and unfortunately we managed to miss it. But we are hoping that we can watch a bit of the game in the very near future.
I think the question I've got to ask is, you keep saying we. Why are we? Why are you Haywards Heath Town fans?
No, we.
All right, OK, fair enough. But brilliant to have you with us. And I love the fact that, Bobby, you're the cameraman as well. This is fantastic. It's kind of like encapsulating non-league day in every sense of the word. How important are initiatives like the Premier League Stadium Fund, which is obviously helping to grow these clubs in the pyramid?
Yeah, it's really, really good, actually. And Haywards Heath, where we are currently, they've managed to build a sort of clubhouse where they sell teas, coffees, the usual chips and burgers and all those bits and pieces, as well as LED floodlights as well. So in terms of the club shop, they'll be able to generate their own income. And in terms of the LEDs, they'll obviously be able to reduce the cost of the electricity for these floodlights for the game. So it's giving them the opportunity to become more self-sufficient, you know?
Mm.
Chips and burgers, that sounds like my pre-match meal back in the day, chaps. But look, I mean, you both played non-league at the beginning of your career. I was speaking to Les Ferdinand as well, who did the same, as obviously Jamie Vardy as well. He was talking, Les, about how, you know, those times, those experiences at non-league sort of shaped him and helped him become the player that he was. What were your experiences like, and do you go along with that? Do you feel that it helped shape you with your career later on?
Yeah, definitely. I think you learn how to grow, become a man pretty quickly. Get kicked from pillar to post, learn how to move up. And I just, you know what? I just think the whole community aspect of it, it's so important for the local kind of people in the area. And like I say, I'm really thankful for non-league giving me my opportunity. And yeah, a long time ago, but very fond memories.
Yeah, and for me, I went on loan to Bath City from Bristol Rovers, you know, so it was an example of men's football at 18 years of age. Like Muzza said, you know, you're learning, you're understanding that you're going to get kicked, you're going to be targeted. And for me, coming from a professional club to a non-league club on loan was just an amazing experience. And I would love to see more of the clubs letting their young players go out, for example, first team football. And listen, it might not be the glitz and glamour that everyone sort of strives for, but it's an amazing experience. And I would rather see lads go out on loan and play football rather than be stuck in the under-23s and that sort of scenario, to be honest.
Yeah, and the way that football has evolved, though, do you think it's possible nowadays for players who have played in non-league to make it to the big time?
I do, yeah. I think so. I think it's, listen, you're not there and you're not going to be learning technical aspects of the game, but you're certainly going to be learning other parts of the game which will bode you for the future, for sure. So for me, I do think it's a part. Listen, you're not saying maybe go in there alone for a season, but certainly for a month, 2 months, and just sample it, learn something new, and you'll be in scenarios that you're never going to have playing in the under 23s or Premier League football, and it will definitely shape you and benefit you.
Yeah, let's walk that path. I hope that is still a pathway that's open and people can still climb that ladder, because I suppose that's a romance of football, isn't it? Everyone believes they can play at a high level, and I think when you're given the opportunity at non-league, and for us as two-form striker and score goals, people notice you, and that. And I think obviously the last one to do is Jamie Vardy, another big name, done really well in the Premier League. So yeah, I hope still a clear pathway to players in non-league now.
Whilst we got you on the subject of strikers, as you mentioned there, Glenn, both of you being former strikers as well. England played last night. Dominic Solanke was the choice for Thomas Tuchel. Dominic Calvert-Lewin then came on. We've been discussing, Scott and I, about the understudy to Harry Kane. Have you got your thoughts on that?
I think it probably wasn't a great game last night for either forward. For me, I think the understudy to Harry Kane needs to be in form in that moment. Tough for Dominic Solanke playing in what is an underperforming Spurs team to impress at the moment. So the circumstances away from the national team probably aren't quite right for him. Dominic Calvert-Lewin hasn't scored many goals recently. One man that plays for our former club that I think we're both very positive on is Danny Welbeck. To work closely with him as a striking coach, but I think as someone older, he'd be perfect fit for that squad. But for me, whoever's really, really banging form come the tournament is the one that you need to take.
I think it's hard for, listen, we're obviously backing Danny, and I just think it's a little bit hard that the English top goal scorer in the Premier League is not even in the picture. And I'd like to see him. And like Massa says, there's other aspects. You know, his experience, he really is, seasoned pro. And it's what he gives off the pitch as well as what he gives on the pitch as well, which counts. And in a huge tournament like that, I think he's priceless.
No Premier League, of course, this weekend. But the big news this week was about Mo Salah and his impending departure from Liverpool. Were either of you surprised by the news as well? And in terms of the bigger picture, a few people have been asking the question, does the Premier League have enough superstars? What do you think?
In terms of Mo Salah, listen, he's given so much to the Premier League. He's a real icon of the game, and for Liverpool as well. So maybe it was time for him to bow out. I mean, he hasn't been in the form that he previously was. And listen, he wants to go and sample something new. So look forward to seeing what that is and where he goes.
Yeah, for me, I think like you said, he's an icon. Probably in this moment underappreciated because I don't think we view things in the now as much as kind of when that time has passed and you look back and you see how good he really was, how robust his body was, how I suppose consistent he was, both with minutes on the pitch, goals, assists, effectiveness. Where every time he kind of walked on the pitch, I think he's a Premier League great and one we'll remember probably more fondly in the future than we do now.
Right, I hope you've got your shooting boots because I'm led to believe you're both involved in a penalty shootout challenge at half-time. So good luck with that one. And thanks for being with us this afternoon.
Thanks, guys.
All the best, chaps.
Bobby Zamora, Glenn Murray there. Right, let's get to the very latest in the games we've got reporters at. There's been a goal in the League One encounter between Reading and Wigan. Tom Clayton.
18 minutes on the clock here. Reading 1, Wigan 0. Kelvin Ehibatiaman, definitely been practicing that pronunciation this afternoon. It was a lovely ball over the top for Kamari Doyle down the right-hand side. He floats across into the middle, and Kelvin Ehibatiaman, he takes no chances at all and hits it into the ground with a head and puts it into the middle. And an own goal as I'm speaking here. A disaster for Wigan, and Reading have gone 2-0 up. A lovely piece of play down the right-hand side, and it's all started through Charlie Savage. No sign of Robbie today, but his old man will be happy with that indeed. Charlie Savage forcing the own goal, and Reading go 2-0 up. This game started all Wigan. Since then, it's been all Reading. As it stands, they're moving into the playoff spots. Reading 2, Wigan 0.
Yeah, indeed. That's a scoreline that moves Reading up to 6th in the table. Stockport certainly are looking to hold on to their playoff position as we get to the end of this season. They're hosting AFC Wimbledon. There was an early goal in this one we brought you. But what's the latest now, Mark Wilson?
Yes, so Stockport 1, AFC Wimbledon 0. That early goal from Adaba Sidibe inside the opening 80 seconds. But Wimbledon have had the ball in the back of the net twice. So they've been ruled offside. Omar Bigil with a nice finish from a tight angle, but the flag had gone up. We've just seen Jake Reeves finish as well from inside the box. But again, the flag saves Stockport. But Bigil had a header just after the goal went in to level it up for Wimbledon. It was whipped in from the right-hand side, and he got a good header on it, but he just put it the wrong side of the post. Been a good response from Johnny Jackson's visitors here, but at the moment it's Stockport 1, AFC Wimbledon 0.
Let's take you to the National League leaders, Rochdale, who are at Sutton. Ian Abrahams.
Bang on, 20 minutes gone. Sutton 0, Rochdale 0. Rochdale looking a little nervy on a ground where they played 3 times before and they've lost every time, and on a ground where they've never scored a goal either, and they haven't looked like scoring in the opening 20 minutes here, if the truth be told. Sutton have had the better options going forward, but sometimes the final passes just let them down a little bit. I must say 2 things. First of all, still 0-0 between York and Woking. Remember, York 3 points behind Rochdale at the top. And Steve Coppell, the England and Manchester United legend, amongst those in the crowd here today. He really was a wing wizard. It's Sutton 0, Rochdale 0.
I mean, I could mention he was a former Brentford manager, just to mention Brentford once more.
There you go.
Thank you. And let's finally check in with the Manchester derby in the WSL. John Dunn.
We've got a couple of minutes left of 5 minutes added time in this one. Manchester United 0, Manchester City 3. City going to extend their lead at the top of the table to 11 points. 2 first-half goals by Vivian Miedema. Second-half, Casper I, the player of the match, scoring early in the second half. Manchester United finally with an effort on target. It took 73 minutes. Melville Mallard with a header, but it was a comfortable save for City goalkeeper Yamashita. A moment ago, Bunny Shaw, 18 goals in 18 league games this season. Big opportunity, unmarked somehow. Steered it wide. Closing stages, United 0, City 3.
OK, that runs you through all of the latest scores in the games we have our reporters at. We will bring you the latest on all the other games as well in just a moment. And we'll also discuss the relegation battle in the Premier League next. This is the Saturday session on talkSPORT. Scott Minto and Natalie Sawyer with you until 5 this evening. We are keeping you across all of the live sport that's taking place right now. In League One, goalless in all of the games, barring Stockport, who are taking on AFC Wimbledon. They're 1-0 up in that one to consolidate their place in the playoff positions. And Reading have moved into the all-important top 6 now after going 2-0 up at home to Wigan. Into League Two, there was an early game, I should say, which Notts County won, beating Harrogate by 2-0, and it's goalless in all of the 3 o'clock kickoffs, bar the game between Bristol Rovers and Accrington, and Bristol Rovers, the hosts, are ahead in that one. In the National League, the leaders, Rochdale, are currently being held at Sutton, that's goalless, and into the FA Trophy semi-finals, they're all goalless, so that's Southport taking on Southend, and Wealdstone, where Stuart Pearce is this afternoon. Bear in mind that's his former club. They're also goalless as they are taking on Marine. There is a Super League match taking place which sees the league leaders Wigan taking on the bottom team Huddersfield, and as of yet no score in that one, so a tight encounter in that game. But we will do our best to keep you up to date with everything that happens in all of these live sporting games. But we can bring you a full-time result from the WSL and the Manchester derby. Here's John Dunn.
At Old Trafford, Manchester United 0, Manchester City 3. Local bragging rights for City, but more importantly, the leaders taking maximum points off the team that was sitting in second position. It extends their lead at the top of the WSL to 11 points with 3 games to play. They were utterly dominant in this one. United goalkeeper Tullis Joyce had already made a few decent saves before Lauren Hemp had hit the bar, and on 17 minutes, Vivian Miedemar headed home an Alex Greenwood corner. 2 minutes later, it was 2. Miedemar again heading home from a Kasparai cross. Tullis Joy was called into more action before the break. Early in the second half, Kasparai steered home from close range to make it 3. It took United 75 minutes to get their first and only effort on target in the game. Buddy Shaw came close late in the game to make it 4. 25,000 here at Old Trafford. It's the minority that you can hear. They are celebrating at the top of the table. United 0, City 3.
John, thank you very much. Yeah, good result once more then for Manchester City as they look to win that title for the first time since 2016. But Arsenal may have a word or two to say on that. Bear in mind they're in action a little bit later on and have to have a number of games in hand too. They're taking on Tottenham from 5:30 then at the Emirates in a North London derby. Wycombe have just taken the lead against the bottom side in League One, Port Vale. Corley Woodrow giving them the lead as they look to chase down a playoff place. So that's the very latest in League One of the latest goals to go in. So it gives us a chance, Scott, to maybe have a breather and just discuss the Premier League for a moment, especially as the Premier League relegation battle is certainly getting tastier and tastier. Well, that is if you're not involved in it. If you're in it, it's a nail-biter.
Well, just to mention Brentford and Keith Andrews as well, I thought at the start of the season, if he finished 17th, he'll be up there for manager of the season with Thomas Frank being the legend that he was there and 3 of your top players going. So, yeah, well done to Keith for being away from that. So we're not mentioning your boys.
Should we talk more about them? Should we talk about the fact, actually, just quickly before on the subject?
I've started you now, haven't I?
You have now. I mean, if you had told me 5-10 years ago, whatever it is, that Brentford obviously would be in the position we're in right now, which we could fade away from. I'm not saying we're necessarily going to finish in the top 7, although there are still European ambitions, I'm sure, for all of those involved at the club. But if you'd said to me that we would have a player captaining England like we did last night with Jordan
Henderson.
Henderson.
Wasn't there a text having a bit of a pop at me? Do you remember that text about a Brentford fan saying just that 10 years ago?
I don't think I'm having a pop at you. I think it was just love.
No, he was just sort of saying, remind Scott.
Oh, I see.
In terms
Sorry,
of
I didn't.
Where they are in the
that
table
part.
as well.
I glossed over the negativity.
Yeah, it was absolutely spot on. You know, when you think about how close they are to Chelsea in the table. Yeah, amazing job, Keith's done there.
I'm going to read it out, shall I?
Go on.
Just to remind everybody. This is from Nigel in Ealing, who is, I'm guessing, a Bees fan because he says up the Bees. He says, who would have thought that 10 years ago Brentford would now have players playing for England and Brazil? Just remind Mr. Minto that we are currently just behind Chelsea in the top flight.
Yeah,
keep up the good work, though.
There you go.
But yeah, that's the point I was going to say
absolutely.
Yes, we had Jordan Henderson captaining England in the first half of that game yesterday. And we now have Igor Thiago as a Brazilian international. I mean, it does, honestly, it is balmy if you're a Brentford fan right now because it's just excitingly ludicrous.
Are you guys pinching yourselves?
I think there's an element of that.
I mean,
absolutely.
there's absolutely every chance that a good chance that you could finish in a European spot.
There is, and I would love to say my bags are packed, but I'm slightly worried because I don't think we're playing at our very best. Injuries are starting to bite a little bit for us as well, and I'm not sure we're being consistent over 90 minutes in games at the moment.
Yeah. Okay.
Hopefully, maybe this international break, bear in mind we don't play again until April the 11th, might give us that recovery time needed, maybe for some of those players. But there are certain players who are missing at the moment, like Vitaly Janelt, who was a big miss for us. And I wouldn't have said that necessarily that long ago, but right now it feels as though he's just such a mainstay in our midfield that we're missing. Likewise, obviously, you could say Rico Henry and Aaron Hickey as our fullbacks who have been long-term injuries previously, started the season doing really well, and both now injured. So yes, look,
I know I shouldn't have mentioned Brentford.
I'm on one now. We weren't supposed to talk about Brentford.
You're
I'm
not in the
sorry.
relegation fight. That's what
No,
we're saying.
exactly, and I appreciate you absolutely bringing that up, because you're right. Many people did think that Brentford would be involved. As it is, this is the bottom picture of the Premier League. Wolves are bottom. But they've shown a little bit of fight of late, haven't they? It's fair to say.
Yeah.
Burnley are 19th. They are 10 points off safety. And then you have West Ham finally in that sort of last relegation spot. And they are a point off Tottenham. And as we all remember what happened previously before the international break, Nottingham Forest won at Tottenham to move themselves 3 points clear of West Ham. I mean, obviously, the story for many will be Tottenham. And if they do end up going down, which it just seems another balmy sort of story to be having. But there's what I'm noticing in some of these teams that are involved in this battle right now, and I'm talking particularly about West Ham and Nottingham Forest, there feels as though there's a real fight in that team, which appears to be lacking in Tottenham.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're still the only team in the Premier League not to win in the league this calendar year, which just seems ridiculous. And I've seen a lot of Spurs, especially in the second half of last season. And I said quite some time ago, and I had a lot of Spurs fans text me who are friends saying you're absolutely spot on. Anyone who didn't think, even 8 weeks ago, that Spurs weren't in a relegation fight either hasn't been watching them or is just thinking it's Tottenham Hotspur, they can't be down there. It would be a bigger story of Spurs going down than Arsenal winning the title. And it would arguably be the second biggest story in Premier League history after Leicester if they do go down, because this is a club. This is such a massive club. And the Spurs fans are very realistic. Everyone that I've spoken to, whether I know them really well or whether I don't, and, you know, I sort of make fun of them a little bit. Yeah, 3 Point Lane was a great place to go back in the day. But seriously, I mean, Spurs is... After the very, very top clubs, it's one of the biggest clubs in the country. It has, in my opinion, I had them at the best in Europe, best stadium in Europe until I went to the Bernabeu, but the second best stadium in Europe. It has one of the best training grounds as well. Always love going there because the food is served really nicely. It's just everything is set up for Champions League football.
For that reason, they must stay up, just for the food.
Just for the food. No, but... Honestly, I genuinely feel for the Spurs fans, and this is the next Chelsea and West Ham player talking, because they don't deserve this. And this, in my opinion, has been coming for years. If you look at Mourinho, Conte, Nuno, Ange, Thomas Frank, now Igor Tudor, who looks like a big, strong guy, and people were saying that people didn't respect Thomas Frank, so we need this disciplinarian coming in. Well, he hasn't made an impact at all. And I've been saying even before the Liverpool game, which was a very good performance and a good point, and obviously well done for them for beating Atletico. Not that it really meant much, and Atletico weren't at full throttle. You think in that Forest game, that's a really good preparation for that game, because that was always the game.
Yeah.
And actually, up until maybe even 2-0, I didn't see Spurs completely out of it. But the worry is that, and I was part of the squad at West Ham that still holds the record for the amount of points going down, with Di Canio, Canute, Defoe, Joey Cole, Mickey Carrick, Trev Sinclair, David James. Just the name, Les Ferdinand came in halfway through to try and help out and wasn't able to do it. You're never too good to go down.
Yeah.
And there's a squad here that's built for winning things, like i.e. the Europa League or getting into Europe, whether it be Europa League or perhaps even chasing a Champions League place. It's not built for the horrible mentality of an atmosphere of trying to avoid relegation. And I see very good players just a shadow of themselves, because that Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which is almost like a coliseum that you go in, has now, instead of being the extra man, is now almost making sure the shirt weighs an extra 5 kilos. Now, the fans against Arsenal were absolutely superb. Before the game, I was listening to Sam and Crookie beforehand, because I was out and about, and he was saying this is one of the best atmospheres I've experienced in a long time. Against Forest, what they did, they're trying to get behind their team. But ultimately, once things go bad, they don't have that resilience and character to bounce back. So if I cared about Spurs, I'd worry for them, but I do. I definitely worry about West Ham. That was a massive result for Forest. The table says that Leeds aren't out of it.
No,
but the eye test tells me that they are in a much better position than the table suggests. But they're actually playing well, but not winning games, so they're not fully out of it. That Forest game was absolutely massive. So, I think it's 50-50 between West Ham and Spurs.
And obviously, you mentioned the Igor Tudor appointment, which hasn't worked in any way, unfortunately, for Tottenham. And obviously, he's out going through some personal issues, having lost his father during that Forest game, it turned out to be, unfortunately. There has been talk about whether or not he should maintain his role at Tottenham. Bear in mind how he has had little impact on the team. If we're just talking on footballing leveling terms, do you think he should still be in charge?
You have to talk on footballing level.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we all really feel for him, and to lose your dad must be absolutely devastating, whatever age you are. But it has to be made on a purely professional basis. And I've said for a couple of weeks now that if Igor Tudor stays in place, listen, he's not without blame. He's chosen some systems and players, and it's not been square pegs, square holes. But he's come in and he's trying to get to know the players immediately, and he must be thinking, "Oh my goodness, these aren't the players that their talent suggests that they are. This is 50% of the players." And in terms of, again, that resilience that you need when you're down there, I think he's been. We'll find out maybe at some point in the future how disappointed and shocked he was to how bad these players and the situation that he's been in. But and it has to be done on a professional level now, and a new man has to come in, because as it stands, he's had zero manager bounce and Spurs are going down. Yeah. The only way they don't go down is if West Ham are even worse from here on in. But at this moment in time, you control the controllables. You can't change the players. The only thing you can change the manager. I understand why they did that, because they wanted this guy who would demand and command instant respect, because allegedly Thomas Frank didn't have that. It hasn't worked. And you have to get someone now who knows the club, who knows the league. And I'm hearing, they're looking for people still outside of the Premier League. You have to know what it's about. You have zero time to hit the ground running. It has to be almost yesterday. Heard Gus Poyet saying just that. It has to as well. And I asked Les Ferdinand the other day, what would his opinion be as to who he would bring in? And he said Tim Sherwood. He said he's a very good coach, but also knows the club.
Yeah. But I mean, I always find that funny when people say he knows the club. Well, the club has moved on. The club has changed to a degree.
When I say no, use the word toxic, but the difficult atmosphere has come back. Whereas with someone like a Tim, or even if you had a Harry with a Jermaine Defoe as the coach, it's very easy for people to turn around and say, oh, he knows the club, and just put an arm around him, which is what they need. They absolutely need to try and square pegs, square holes, play in your best positions, keep the football simple.
Yeah.
And make things as less difficult as they already are. But it has to be more than that. You have to have a plan. You have to have coaching. You have to, realise that this team does this, and you have to be able to work at that. So where Harry would be fantastic in terms of the management side of things, and he's already said he would bring in a Jermaine Defoe and a few other people who have done their coaching badges, who are absolutely desperate to get on the grass and coach top players. So whether it's Tim, whether it's Harry, or Glenn Hoddle even, that type of, you're in the last chance saloon.
Yeah.
You can't risk again going abroad, and if it doesn't happen, if it doesn't work, that manager bounce of someone not understanding, not even the club, but the Premier League and how ruthless it and brutal it is.
Yeah. I mean, I think as someone outwardly looking in, it feels it's way more just than just the. It's clearly the players. The players are the other problem. They have the attitude problem. Some of those we've seen who are given leadership roles are not leaders on that pitch when they are needed. And you're looking for a firefighter right now. That's what you're looking for. Yeah. Sean Dyche has been a name that's been linked with potentially coming in at some point, maybe to save Tottenham. He was in the studio earlier on today, and he discussed the prospects of becoming the Spurs boss.
According to social media, obviously you were in London last night.
Brilliant.
Talking to Spurs.
Oh, it's brilliant. Honestly, I was in the pub just up the way, near my place I've got down there. And this guy goes, you meant to be in talks with Spurs tonight. No, well, I'm standing next to you having a pint of Guinness. So I said, it's unlikely. I said, unless you work for Spurs and they're in the Seven Stars pub having a pint of Guinness. I said, it's highly unlikely. No, I'm not. I'm with you, mate, and I'm on talkSPORT. That's what I'm doing.
Wasn't a no, though. It's just highly unlikely.
Yeah, of course, he'll take it. I'm not sure if he will be offered it. I mean, look, Nat, you mentioned the word attitude. I actually don't think that necessarily they have a bad attitude. I think when things are going really wrong, they're almost lacking in confidence.
I don't agree with that.
Okay, that's fine. Let's discuss. I've
seen what Romero's been like with Thomas Frank. We saw what Judd Spence was like. Mickey van der Ven, players like that.
It absolutely doesn't mean anything. The fact that he's after a defeat where you've got a bit of stick and the manager's telling you to go over after a game, and you're just so in that, you're so frustrated with yourself as well as the situation that you sort of say to, and maybe you've even heard some stick for yourself from the fans. You don't want to do that. I don't have a problem with that. That's happened a million times in football back in the day, where you say, no, I'm not going to do that, and walk off. Now, you can turn around and say afterwards, he could have a go at him and say, look, you've got to do this for the fans, and maybe afterwards. But no, that doesn't mean they got a bad attitude. It doesn't mean to say that they don't care about Spurs. I 100% refute that. 100%, and feel quite passionately, because I've been in that situation where you're lacking in confidence. It could look like you're not trying. It's not that you're not trying. It's just actually that situation can be so difficult, and you're in with a group of players that you're feeling we're better than this, but actually it almost seems a bit of a surreal moment. From the outside looking in, he's not. It's so easy to say.
No, I know
what
what you're saying, and I absolutely agree with you in the sense of no player goes out there to not try and not want to win a game. I get that completely. But if you're talking about part of the reason Thomas Frank had to go was because he wasn't instilling or wasn't able to instill discipline, that in a way alerts you to an issue there.
Well, listen, I don't know if that's the case. That's what was being said as to why they brought in someone like Igor Tudor. It's absolutely up to the manager to gain the respect of the players. Now, for me, from a player's point of view, even if I don't respect the manager, I play for myself first and foremost, for my professional pride.
Yeah.
And then next of all, after that, I play for the fans and the club who's paying my wages. I don't have to like or respect the manager, but I do have to try 100%. Now, the bottom line is, I don't know whether it's a disrespect or a respect thing with Thomas Frank. But what we've seen is they were hurtling towards relegation problems, which, we talk about. They haven't the only team in the Premier League yet to win a league match this calendar year. A lot of that was to do with Thomas Frank as well.
Oh, absolutely.
So it hasn't worked. So again, what do? You control the controllables. You can't get rid of the players. I do agree the players clearly are massively to blame for this. But then you have to blame recruitment for that. Have they recruited the right players? And that's where I go back to, the owners have got rid of Daniel Levy. They've said, right, we're going to step forward. Well, we're going to change things. They've definitely changed things. They've made things even worse. We're going to make a statement. So what happened in January? You bring in Conor Gallagher and Sousa, you let go Brennan Johnson. Now, January is a very difficult month to bring in people. But you don't sell someone. You don't sell someone, even if they're not the natural sort of first teamer. Brennan Johnson, he scored the goal in the Europa League final. He can come off the bench. He can scare defenders. You don't try and balance the books with 30 million for Conor Gallagher and 30 million for Brennan Johnson, and then there's a 13 million for Sousa, who's not ready really to be playing in the short term for Tottenham Hotspur. So for me, it's all about the hierarchy. And Daniel Levy will find out whether he was told what to do or whether he was part of the problem. So, yes, the players are the problem. Yes, they look like they're not trying, or they look like they're a shadow of the player that they were. But when you're down there, and I get it, you're paid this much money, but they're human beings. And I do feel sorry for the Spurs fans, because I think they've realised now it's like having a go at them is not going to work. We want to get behind them. They've tried that, and that's still not working now. And that's why whoever they bring in, they do have to. And we all feel for Igor Tudor from a personal front, but he has to go, and they have to bring someone else in who knows the Premier League.
But ultimately, as we've been saying and discussing, this has been a long-standing issue at Tottenham for a while, because as you rightly pointed out, some of the managers they've tried and tested who actually raised the issues publicly that there was problems at the club, they haven't resolved, and that's why Tottenham now find themselves, unfortunately, in the position that they are in. It's going to be, 7 games to go, I think it is now, in the Premier League, and it's going to be intriguing to see how it all pans out. Right, let's get you to some of the latest from some of the football matches that are taking place. There's been another goal in the game at Edgeley Park between Stockport and AFC Wimbledon in League One. Mark Wilson.
It's Stockport County 2, AFC Wimbledon 0. Carl Wotton on as a first-half substitute for the opening goal scorer, Adama Sidibe, has fired in after a lethal Stockport counter-attack. It came against the run of play. 1-0 down, Wimbledon on the attack, picked the ball up in the centre circle. Junior Nakeng drove to the edge of the box, had a shot across goal. The Dye made a good save. Straight from that counter-attack up the other end, Tanto Alafe burst into the box down the left-hand side. Very unselfish, just rolled it across the penalty area, and there was Carl Wotton to rifle it into the corners. There's been plenty of chances at both ends, but it's Stockport who've taken theirs. It's Stockport 2, AFC Wimbledon 0.
Let's check in once more with Tom Clayton, who's watching Reading against Wigan.
Reading 2, Wigan 0, and they've just had a corner which has gone for a free kick, have Reading, as we move into just a couple of minutes of added time. Just to confirm the second goal, the own goal from Will Aimson, the Wigan defender. It was a lovely finish to start us off with Kelvin Ehibatiaman, a ball that was played in through the back fork. Kamari Doyle floated into the middle and he nodded down and couldn't miss the big centre forward. Since then it has all been Reading. Wigan have played well in bits and bats, but those bits and bats have become fewer and further between as we've gone through this first half of action. As I say, we're into added time here. There's not been much incidents or really much to tell you about since those two goals. There has been one opportunity for Reading. It was almost a carbon copy of the first goal, except the cross was put in towards the far post along the ground. A shot came in from Lewis Wing, and eventually that was blocked. As I say, Wigan trying to make a game of this, but Reading already in cruise control as we approach half-time. Reading 2, Wigan 0.
And let's check in with how the National League leaders Rochdale are faring at Sutton. Ian Abrahams.
And approaching half-time, Sutton 0, Rochdale 0. Rochdale 3 points clear of York going into this one. By the way, York still drawing 0-0 at home to Woking this afternoon. A couple of chances at either end. A shot which just flashed over the top of the Sutton crossbar as Rochdale still come forward towards the end of this first half. But they haven't really tested the Sutton goalkeeper enough in this first period. The other chance for Sutton came from Lewis Simper. It was a curling effort. Oh, the goalkeeper for Rochdale having to come way outside his area to clear. Lewis Simper with a curling effort that just went wide of the far post. But we're into the dying embers of the first half here. Sutton 0, Rochdale 0.
Ian, thank you very much. Right, we will bring you the half-time results then from the matches that are taking place across this afternoon in just a short while. But we'll also be taking a look at Mo Salah's departure from Liverpool and where it leaves the Premier League in terms of players with star quality.
We're talking all things Harry Maguire. John is a Man United fan. Jonathan?
How are you doing? You okay?
I'm great. Very well, man. How are you today?
Yeah, very good. Very good. Thank you.
What's that noise? Have you just opened your wallet?
No, you have to excuse me. It's the police going past in Hereford, which means there's probably a cat stuck in a tree somewhere.
Okay. Well, just be careful.
Oh, yeah, I'm being safe, mate. I'm free and all that.
Good, good. Go on, off you go.
Yeah, talking about Harry Maguire. So, I'm a United fan. Has he let the club down on numerous occasions?
Welcome along. This is the Saturday session on talkSPORT. You're tuning in to Scott Minto and Natalie Sawyer as we take you through until 5 o'clock this afternoon. It's getting close to half time in all of the 3 o'clock kickoffs. So let's run you through what has come to a close in the first 45 minutes. The whistle has blown in the game between Reading and Wigan. So, Tom Clayton, how did that first half finish up?
Yeah, half-time here, Reading 2, Wigan 0, and definitely a scoreline that deserves the performance from Reading. It all started quite well for Wigan. They played well through the opening few minutes, but Reading started to grow into the game, and it was a lovely ball through that eventually came down for Kamari Doyle. Doyle floated one in towards the middle of into the middle of the 6-yard area, and Kelvin Ehibatiaman couldn't miss from 6 yards out with the head, nodded it down past the goalkeeper, and it was just 4 minutes later that we saw an own goal from Wigan defender Will Aimson. He slid in to block across from Charlie Savage, but that's eventually crept in past the goalkeeper into the corner. Not many chances since then. Fraser Murray's done well for Wigan down the left-hand side. We did have a break in play for a clash of heads, but both players did get up okay from that. And then down the right as well, once again, Ryan Niambe, a massive chance for him. He put a cross in that missed everyone, and Lewis Wing put in a shot. It was eventually blocked and cleared away. But since the opening whistle, we've only really seen one-way traffic. It has gone in the favour of the Royals, and as it stands, they're moving into the top 6 for just the second time this season. At half-time at the Select Car Leasing Stadium, it is Reading 0. Wigan 0. Reading 2, Wigan 0.
Let's take you to the half-time score then between Stockport and AFC Wimbledon. Mark Wilson.
Stockport 2, AFC Wimbledon 0. A game of many chances, but Stockport taking theirs. They took the first inside the opening 80 seconds. Good work from Tanto Alafe down the left. Fed Ben Osborne putting a lovely cross, and Adama Sidibe fired in from close range to give County an early lead. There was almost an instant response. Free kick from the left, whipped in. Omar Bagil headed just wide of the post for AFC Wimbledon. There was only a second for Stockport. John McDonnell, the Wimbledon goalkeeper, caught in possession, tried to turn away from Alafe. The ball fell to Lewis Bate, and a strong challenge came in, preventing his effort going into the back of the net. Carl Wotton came on as an early sub for the goal scorer Adama Sidibe, and it was he who got the second. It came after a good chance for Junior and Keng on the break for FC Wimbledon. He shot a cross goal. Adai made a good save on the counter-attack. Alafe into the penalty area. Really unselfish layoff. Fed it to Wotton, and he fired in his 19th league goal of the season. There was a good chance as well for Wimbledon from a corner. Callum Maycott maybe should have done better, firing wide from inside the 6-yard box. FC Wimbledon have had plenty of chances. They haven't taken them. Stockport looking to strengthen their place in the playoff places. It's Stockport 2, FC Wimbledon 0.
Rochdale edging towards promotion from the National League. They're at Sutton. Ian Abrahams.
Not really. Half-time, Sutton 0, Rochdale 0. Rochdale have been very under par on the ground where they've lost every time they've been and never scored, and they've never really looked like scoring in the first half here at all. Lewis Simper was the closest effort for anybody for Sutton, a curling effort from the edge of the penalty area that just went wide. They're not losing any ground on York below them either. I mean, the 3-point gap is still 3 points because up in Yorkshire it remains York 0, Woking 0, but no sign yet of any amazing play or amazing goals to be scored by Desiree or Ian Henderson, who might come off the bench in the second half for Rochdale. Sutton 0, Rochdale 0 at the break.
Ian, thank you very much. Let's run you through the halftime scores in the rest of the EFL games. And starting in League One, it's goalless between Blackpool and Burton. Exeter and Leyton Orient is also goalless. And Corley Woodrow's goal is the difference between Wickham and Port Vale. Port Vale, of course, bottom of the table, but they do have a number of games in hand due to their FA Cup run. Moving into League Two, where there are 10 games at half-time. In the earlier game, I should say, Notts County beat Harrogate by 2-0. But at the break, it's Barrow 0, Bromley 1. The leaders going well then against the bottom side. No goals as of yet between Salford and MK Dons, and Barnet against Cambridge. Swindon are 1-0 up at home to Fleetwood. It's 1-1 between Crewe and Oldham. It's goalless between Colchester and Walsall. Bristol Rovers lead Accrington Stanley by 1-0. And as of yet, no goals between Crawley Gillingham and Newport Shrewsbury. And that is, of course, Colin Kazim-Richards' first game in charge for Crawley, having been appointed in midweek. So, well, I suppose so far so good. Into the FA Trophy, I should say, semi-finals. The lowest ranked side still left in the competition, Southport leads Southend by 1-0 at the break, and Wealdstone and Marine are goalless as they are now at half-time too. Taking you into our live Premiership rugby over on talkSPORT 2, Bristol Bears are 7-0 up against Harlequins. That one really getting underway, 25 minutes or so ago. And in the Super League, well, this could be a turn-up for the books. Huddersfield Giants yet to win this season, bottom of the table as well. They're at the league leaders, Wigan, but at half-time, it's 16-4 that the Huddersfield Giants lead. So, as I say, could be quite a shocking result already early on in the Super League. You're up to date. It's now time for this.
The talkSPORT 20k giveaway.
Yes, it is competition time, and talkSPORT are giving away one lucky listener the chance to bag £20,000. That is completely tax-free. You might want a pen and paper handy to write down all the important details, because this is how you can enter. You can simply text the word WIN to 83338. That's text the word WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or you can call this number 0343 418 7260. That's 0343 418 7260. Lines close on the 9th of April at 4 o'clock, and that's when you will need to answer your phone if it rings in the afternoon. It's 18 and over, UK residents only. This is a network promotion, and full T's and C's can be found at talksport.com. So as a reminder, for your chance to win £20,000, text the word WIN to 83338 now. Okay, let's...
I'll do that later.
Do you want to note down the long number?
Yeah, I've done that as well.
It's a really long one, that, with no rhyme or reason to it. But anyway, good luck if you do enter. Let's get to more of the breaking news that I think you were on for, were you not? With the Mo Salah news, were you?
Yes. I was with you 15 minutes before. Bless producer Connor.
Wow.
He produced an
Oscar-winning
Oscar-winning running order. No one will ever know.
Yeah, exactly. What you had planned, yeah, that's been shelved. Yes, it was announced, of course, on Tuesday that Mo Salah will leave Liverpool at the end of the season. And it's kind of led to, if we're moving the conversation on, because as you mentioned, you were on, so you've really reflected a lot on that. But what it means for the Premier League in general to be losing another star player. What do you think that means for the league going forward?
Look, in a way, and we asked Bobby and Glenn, didn't we? And, you know, it's not unsurprising, really, that it's... But perhaps the timing of it still at this part of the season, I thought was surprising. That was the constant question. Why now? Why not wait till the end of the season? And especially if Liverpool are not able to finish in the top 5, then would Arne Slot be around? And therefore, Mo Salah might not have the problem. Was it with Arne Slot? Was it with the club? Apparently, he's not sorted out any club sort of going forward. So I just found that the timing of it strange. But yeah, he's probably, along with Erling Haaland, you know, the sort of the real big names of the Premier League. I'm struggling to kind of find another big name. Look, let's not forget, I mean, I covered Spanish football for 4 years. I did every Barcelona and Real Madrid game in the league and the Copa del Rey as well. So getting paid to watch Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo and the players around them was incredible. I think the best players in the world have probably always gone to, if not Real Madrid, then maybe Barcelona. And you look at the best players in the world now, who would you say? I mean, Erling Haaland's certainly up there. Harry Kane, I think you've got to say, is up there as well. Obviously, he's been in the Premier League, but isn't at the moment. But, you know, Vinny Jr., Jude Bellingham, Kylian Mbappe, you know, they're all at Real Madrid at the moment. So I do think at the very, very, very top in the world, perhaps the Premier League haven't had the best player in the world, but what they have had is that kind of next almost 3-4 downwards to about 20. Yeah. And that's what makes it so interesting. And obviously the Premier League itself, you know, the kind of thought that the bottom team can beat the top team, which I think for some seasons when Pep Guardiola's Manchester City and even Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool were playing, you weren't really seeing that. You saw those teams finishing with 90-plus points and Liverpool not winning the title with 90-plus points, which just seems ridiculous. But obviously we've seen this season, and the obvious example is Wolves, to be 2-0 down against Arsenal, come back and draw 2-2. Even the game at the Emirates, Arsenal just about sneaked by. I think it was 2 own goals, and one of those was very, very late on. So I think the beauty of the Premier League is that we don't quite know what's going to happen. Right. I think we have to be careful. I've always been a fan of set pieces, and people are criticising Arsenal for it. If I'm anything to do with Arsenal, I wouldn't care one bit what people said. It's all about just winning that Premier League, and the pressure obviously is cranked up even more with what's happened in the Carabao Cup. The only thing I'd say to that is, from a neutral point of view, they're very functional. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't necessarily want the Premier League winners to be functional for the next 10 years. I think we were spoilt with Klopp's Liverpool and Pep's Manchester City. But in terms of the individual stars, made a quick note here. I think with Man City, you've got Haaland. Do you put Bernardo Silva in there? Do you put Rodri in there? Liverpool, Szoboszlai has been their best player. Is he a world icon? Virgil van Dijk is obviously a big name, but he's a centre-half with Arsenal. Saka hasn't had the best of seasons. Odegaard, I think, is an incredible player. Declan Rice, probably their most important, along with Gabriel and Saliba as well. Chelsea with Cole Palmer, Caicedo. Joao Pedro isn't quite ready to be put into that category just yet. So I don't think the Premier League have the true superstars, but there's not that many around at the moment.
No. It does feel a little bit different, doesn't it, football in the landscape right now? It may be a question for our listeners to maybe alert us to. Who are we missing as the star of the Premier League, especially now that Mo Salah will be leaving? This is a conversation we're going to continue on with. But if you want to let us know who you think we've not mentioned or we should be alerting to, or maybe the potential to be, like someone like a Shirky at City.
Yeah, I like him. Yeah.
And there's links with Kvaratskhelia perhaps coming to Arsenal.
That would be great.
See, he would be the poster boy, wouldn't he?
He would be a poster boy for sure.
So let us know. You can text us to 81089. You can WhatsApp us on 03717 223344, and we'll read your messages out in the final hour of the show. But we'll be parking football for just a moment when we return, because we've got to be talking about the big heavyweight boxing that's coming your way on talkSPORT as Moses Atalma takes on Jermaine Franklin.
Every Thursday we'll be joined in the studio by rapper and Spurs fan AJ Tracey. How are you?
How you doing, fella? Not too bad.
Good. Now, we spoke to you on the phone before. I've never met you, right?
You spoke to me on the phone before, yeah.
Okay, do I call you AJ, Trace?
You call me whatever you want to call me.
But what do your pals call you?
AJ.
Age,
yeah.
Okay,
Age.
Nice to meet you, Age.
If we've had a beer, it's Age.
Age, okay.
Yeah,
we should do that, Mark, on Thursday.
Yeah?
Thursday's a great night to go out.
I heard the fridge is stocked over here. I might be here for...
Forget the food. We go across the road for a few. Can I ask what AJ stands for?
AJ, it's a multitude of things, but it's just a stage name that I thought makes sense. It sounds like a normal name, though. It sounds like a government name, which is why I picked that rather than one of these crazy aggressive rapper names. I thought something that will sell, something that a mother's not going to look at. Their kid wants the AJ Tracey record. They're going to be that name's crazy. I'm not going to buy the record. Just a nice, normal...
It's a friendly name.
It's a friendly name. Yeah. It's marketable.
Obviously it is, because it works.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah. You said it, not me. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for coming in.
No, thanks for having me.
What are you up to at the moment? We're going to talk loads. I know you're big Spurs.
By the way, if I wasn't here with you, I'd be watching this, by the way.
You're listening to the Saturday session on talkSPORT. I'm Natalie Sawyer, and with me the former Premier League defender Scott Minto. During this hour, we're going to be looking ahead to tonight's live heavyweight boxing between Moses Talma and Jermaine Franklin, which will be live on talkSPORT. And we'll also look at whether Manchester City winning the Carabao Cup will have an effect on the title race. But in today's live football action, it is Advantage Stockport in their game against AFC Wimbledon in League One. Mark Wilson can tell us more.
Yeah, Stockport 2, AFC Wimbledon 0. Goal inside 80 seconds. Adama Sidibe firing in after good work from Alafe and Osborne. It was Alafe who set up the second for Carl Wharton, his 19th league goal of the season. Fife County 2-0 up at the break. Wimbledon had plenty of chances. Still game on here. Stockport 2, AFC Wimbledon 0.
And it's all going well for Reading as well in their game against Wigan. Tom Clayton.
It's going very well indeed. Reading 2, Wigan 0, just approaching the start of the second half, and seeing a couple of changes at the break, but Reading have very much been the better side in this match. A goal in the first half for Kelvin Ehibatiaman after 9 minutes. It was a lovely ball through for Kelvin Doyle, or Kamari Doyle, excuse me. He floated in towards the back post and Ehibatiaman couldn't miss. And then about 10 minutes later, Williamson from a cross that came in from Charlie Savage into the back of his own goal. And that has been the story of the first half of this game so far. Few chances other than those 2 goals. It is just as we are getting back underway here in the second half. Reading 2, Wigan 0.
Tom, thank you very much. Yeah, all the second halves then getting underway. They're all goalless in League One except at Adams Park, where Wycombe are trying to get into the playoffs. They lead Port Vale, the bottom side, by 1-0. Into League Two, again, all goalless except in the following games. It finished earlier on 2-0 for Notts County at Harrogate as that moved them into the playoff positions. And elsewhere, going into the second half, it's Barrow 0, Bromley 1. Bromley top of the table, going really, really well under Andy Woodman. Barrow, though, bottom of League Two and struggling. 2 points from safety coming into these games. Elsewhere, it's Swindon Town 1, Fleetwood 0, Crewe 1, Oldham 1, and Bristol Rovers 1, Accrington Stanley 0. Let's take you to the league leaders, Rochdale, who are at Sutton, and Ian Abrahams is there.
4 minutes into the second half, still Sutton 0, Rochdale 0. Rochdale will have to improve in the second half if they're to really push home an advantage. They have 3 points at the top of the National League, although York are drawing 0-0 with Woking. They have sent on Ian Henderson, the veteran, at half-time to try and get the goals. He's on for Diasawure, and they'll be hoping to score for the first time on this ground. At the moment, they haven't managed it this afternoon. It's Sutton 0, Rochdale 0.
And just as I'm speaking, Barnet have gone 1-0 up at home to Cambridge. And Cambridge are the team looking to get back into the top 3 in League Two. That's after Notts County's earlier win at Harrogate. But a blow for Cambridge. And Neil Harris as Barnet take the lead then in that game. Let's take you to the FA Trophy semi-finals, where it is Southport 1, the lowest team still left in this competition, leading Southend then in that game. And it's goalless still between Willstone and Marine as well, as they all look to get to that final on May 17th. Let's look ahead to, I should say, a friendly that's going to be taking place at Hampden. Scotland taking on Japan. Paul Mitchell's going to be watching this one. Paul?
Scotland's record in friendlies under Steve Clarke is the polar opposite to his qualification record, and few would have it any other way. Scotland haven't won a home friendly since Matt Ritchie scored to beat Denmark 1-0 back in May of 2016. Today, Japan make their Hampden Park debut as both prepare for this summer's World Cup.
Thank you very much. And just in the last few minutes, Ivory Coast have beaten South Korea at Stadium MK, with these two teams warming up for the World Cup as well. 4-0 was the final scoreline in that one. We've already had 2 games in the WSL taking place today. There's a North London derby coming your way in the league as well. And Angelina Kelly is at the Emirates for us.
Yes, over 45,000 people are here at the Emirates for the North London derby. It's 4th versus 5th in the Women's Super League, with Renee Slagers' side looking for their 11th consecutive win in a row and to push for a top 3 finish and a Champions League qualification spot. Kick-off is at 5:30 p.m. It's Arsenal versus Tottenham.
Manchester City extended their lead at the top of the table as they beat their City rivals United at Old Trafford 3-0. And in the Merseyside derby, Liverpool were 3-2 winners at Everton, and they were down to 10 players in that game as well, following a red card. Taking you into the Premiership Rugby that's taking place live on talkSPORT 2. It's Bristol Bears 7, Harlequins 5. Earlier on, Leicester cemented their place in the top 4 with a 36-17 win at Gloucester. Oh, I should say that was at Villa Park, not at Gloucester. And Saracens are taking on Northampton Saints from 6 o'clock. You can tune into that one on talkSPORT 2. In the Super League, I've mentioned this one already, could be an upset on the cards because Wigan have won their first 5 in the competition, but they're losing at home to the bottom side, Huddersfield, who are yet to win. 16-4, the Giants lead now at the Warriors, and Lee Leopards take on Toulouse at 5:30 in the Super League. So you can see it's been a busy day. This is the place to be. It's the Saturday session on talkSPORT. We just brought you details of Scotland against Japan then. Both these teams warming up for the World Cup, and Japan will come down to Wembley, won't they, on Tuesday to take on England. Let's bring you the team news then ahead of this one with Paul Mitchell. Paul?
Yeah, Scotland have got Angus Gunn in goal. Nathan Patterson will start not an awful lot of minutes with Everton. He will play. Some speculation how Scotland would go at centre half. It's McKenna and Hendry, and Andrew Robertson, the Scottish international captain today. Ferguson, McGinn and McTominay. So it looks like a pretty strong midfield for Scotland. Kenny McLean, who scored that wonder goal against Denmark, and Tommy Conway of Middlesbrough has been playing on the left hand side for Middlesbrough. Looks set to get a role fairly similar to that today, and Lyndon Dykes is the man up front. Everybody else will be on the bench. We're still waiting final confirmation of the Japanese team there without a couple of very good players, so it'll be interesting to see how they get on without Endo and Kubo here today. Scotland have never scored against Japan. That might have to change. Hopefully today, Scotland against Japan, live from Hamden.
Paul, thank you very much. OK, so as you can see, it has been a busy all afternoon, and it continues to be a busy weekend of sporting action. Live boxing returns to talkSPORT tonight as heavyweight sensation Moses Atauma faces the never-before knocked-out Jermaine Franklin at Manchester's Co-op Live Arena. The current heavyweight Dave Allen will offer his expert analysis as part of our commentary team, and don't forget that you can watch along with us ringside on the night of the fight as well. So live on talkSPORT and the talkSPORT Boxing YouTube channel from 8. You can tune into that, or you can watch it all unfold live on DAZN. Pleased to say, joining us to look ahead to an exciting night, it is, of course, our very own Spencer Oliver. How are you doing, Spencer?
Yeah, Natalie, Scott, how are you both doing? Yeah, really looking forward to this one. Press conference is done, weigh-in's done, and we're only hours away now from the big fight. As you said there, Moses Atauma versus Jermaine Franklin. Can Moses do something that no other fighter has been able to do, and that's including Dillian Whyte, including Anthony Joshua, and get this job done inside the distance against a very tough opponent?
Well, for those, I mean, listen, I'm sure the boxing purists will know everything there is to know about Jermaine Franklin, but for those that don't, tell us why he does offer such a strong opposition to Atauma.
He's just awkward, and he's very, very tough. You know, he's very resilient, and he'll just keep going. He looks to take fighters into those later rounds, and that's where he comes on strong. You know, listening to Fabio Wardley, the current world champion at the moment, says that he uses him as a regular sparring partner because of his toughness. You know, he's hit him full in the face, and he just smiles, nods, and keeps coming back. So I think for Moses Atauma, it's all about getting the rounds in the bank. Can he do the distance? Answer all the questions that people want to know. So far, you know, we've seen him just going through his opponents in round 1, round 2. Last time out, Dillian Whyte out in Saudi Arabia, a first round knockout, and he was the guy actually that was meant to give him rounds. So can Jermaine Franklin do that? He's awkward enough, he's tough enough, but is Moses Atauma just that special? We find out tonight.
Yeah, Spencer Atauma said in his press conference that he wants to make a statement this weekend. I mean, statements normally are knockouts, but do you feel it would be better for him to be taken much further into the fight?
I don't really, Scott. You know, I think that, you know, if he makes that statement, you know, that sort of raises his profile even more so than he already has. You know, I think we've all been talking about Moses Atauma and when he becomes, if he becomes a world champion anytime in the near future. Frank Warren has said this week that if Moses Atauma does the job and he does it inside the distance, it could be a world title sometime in the year. So really looking forward to that. But for me, Moses Atauma, the quicker he gets the job done, more of a statement he makes, and he underlines just what a great talent he is.
I mean, it sounds ridiculous to say it, because obviously if he wins this one, it's 14 wins out of 14. To then set up a world title fight, is that too soon? Or do you think from what you've seen of him, he's more than capable of going into a fight of that magnitude?
Well, it is very soon, Natalie, if I'm totally honest. You know, in 14 fights, let's say he had it in his 15th fight or 16th fight. Of course, that's very soon. You know, you look at a young Mike Tyson who won it when he was 21 years of age, but he'd had, you know, I think he had 18 fights in just 1 year. So, you know, he was very, very active. It is too soon, but if you're good enough, you're old enough, and they feel that now is the time.
I mean, he's not been fighting enough in terms of length of time in any particular fight to know that what his vulnerability is. But what are Franklin's tactics here?
Just to try and take the fight to him and take him into the later rounds. Because like you say there, Scott, if you look at it, you go, what are his vulnerabilities? Well, none of us know that because we haven't seen anything. All his performances so far have been flawless. He sets traps, he's very spiteful with his shots, he starts very fast, you know, he's entertaining, he puts bums on seats. People want to watch him because of the knockouts. You know, so what are the flaws? We won't find that out until someone can take him in the later rounds. When he starts blowing a gasket, starts running out of steam, then we find out the character of the guy. Can he take a shot on the chin? We've still not seen that either. So many questions need to be answered, but at the moment we can't find anyone good enough to answer them.
I mean, it's going to be absolutely fascinating, no doubt. But tell us about the night in general, the undercard. What else you can look forward to?
Yeah, we've got a brilliant fight that I'm really looking forward to on the undercard, and that's Willie Hutchinson against Ezra Taylor. Now, Willie Hutchinson, people will know he's boxed at that, you know, at that level. He lost to Joshua Boatsy, come back and had a good win over Mark Jeffers and put himself, he sort of derailed and re-railed, if you like. And you go for Ezra Taylor. He's a kid that's unbeaten in 13, 11 inside the distance. And you just look at that and you go, right, okay, everything he's done so far looks brilliant. Training with Malik Scott, but how good can this kid be? I think he can be exceptional, but this is the perfect benchmark to tell us, and the launch pad for himself to establish himself in that light heavyweight division. So that's a fight that I'm really looking forward to. And if anything, they have stole the show this week as well. They're both very charismatic and they've been, brilliant in the build-up.
What do you make of the card in general? Why do you feel that people should tune in early?
Well, it's just a good stacked card, right? You know, I think it starts at 3 o'clock, Scott. You know, you go through there and there's loads of good fighters on there at the beginning of their careers, and, you know, and fighters that are just knocking on the door before they go on into world titles. So, yeah, it's a very good card. It's called the Magnificent Seven for a reason. It's Frank Warren that puts these fights on. He puts 7 fights on that are real 50-50 fights. And there's a couple that I've just mentioned there that are real standout fights. So, yeah, looking forward to it. Stacked. Starts at 3 p.m. live on DAZN. You can watch it there or listen to us on talkSPORT from 8 p.m.
Well, we're going to let you rest your voice then, because you've got a busy night ahead. Spencer, thank you, though.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys.
All the best, Spence.
Spencer Oliver, then part of our team for a huge night of boxing action to bring you, with Moses Atauma taking on Jermaine Franklin. Just a couple of goals to bring you up to speed with in League Two in particular. Bristol Rovers has doubled their lead against Accrington, and the bottom side, Barrow, have pegged back Bromley. It's now 1-1 in that game. Bromley, the league leaders as well. So that could be a little bit of a blow for them, although they still have a nice cushion, don't they?
Bromley's my local club.
Yes, I know it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to think how far they've come, and Andy Woodman's done an amazing job.
Really huge. Because they were non-league not that long ago, weren't they?
Well, I remember a long time ago playing in the District Cup final there as well, and they were nowhere near where they are now. So it's brilliant, the journey they're on.
You're saying your age there now, aren't you, really? Fleetwood have just equalised at Swindon as well. So that's 1-1. Mark Helm getting the goal in that one. We've had a few messages. I know you want to get to some of these messages.
I do. I said to you, Nat, can I get these in? And do you know what? Actually, I hold my hand up, especially to Ben and to someone else who didn't leave their name. I missed out a big, big superstar.
Well, let's do it after the break.
Okay.
Because I think you're absolutely right. We need to acknowledge those that you have wronged.
We do.
But let's quickly check in with the other games that are taking place with our reporters and in League One. It's Stockport against AFC Wimbledon. Mark Wilson.
Yeah, still Stockport 2, AFC Wimbledon 0, but AFC Wimbledon have almost got a goal back. It came from a corner. Ryan Johnson, a former Stockport defender, gets a free header about 10 yards out. It looks to all the world it's going in the top corner, and somehow Corey Adai, the Stockport keeper, has leapt and fingertipped it onto the crossbar. It is a truly world-class save to keep the ball out of the back of the net. Wimbledon pushing to get a goal back, but it was a fine save from Corey Adai. Still Stockport 2, AFC Wimbledon 0.
Have Wigan let's say that again. Have Wigan got themselves back into the game at Reading? Tom Clayton.
Well, it's certainly livening up here. 59 minutes on the clock, and Reading 2, Wigan 0. Wigan just missing that killer pass in the final third. They've had a couple of chances, the best falling to Harrison Batoni. He actually took a free kick from about 35 yards out, almost caught out Joel Pereira in the Reading goal. But as it stands, he just about got to that one and managed to stop it from going out for a corner as well. But Wigan trying to get themselves back into this game, and the atmosphere ramping up. Wigan ramping themselves up and certainly trying to force the issue. One of the names that came on at half-time is one that we might all recognise. That's one Mr. James Carragher, the son of Jamie Carragher. That means we got the son of Jamie Carragher on the pitch, and we got the son of Robbie Savage on the pitch. So it's a game of sons here and here, but the sun has certainly not come out, shall we say, on Wigan so far this afternoon. Reading 2, Wigan 0.
Tom, thank you very much. And in the National League, it's Sutton that are taking on the league leaders, Rochdale. Ian Abrahams.
And Sutton 0, Rochdale 0. Rochdale started the day with a 3-point gap, and they really have been second best here. Lewis Simper twice in the second half of Sutton could have scored. First a shot that he dragged just wide from the edge of the area, and then after he managed to get the ball when the goalkeeper hadn't cleared it properly. Again, the goalkeeper did manage to atone for his error by making a save. Now, York are 3 points behind Rochdale at the top of the table. They're currently drawing 0-0 at home to Woking as well. And just to clarify where Robbie Savage is today, it's in! No, it's not in. I thought Rochdale had scored. It looked like it was curling in. Forest Green Rovers drawing 2-2 away from home today in the National League. So he's a little bit busy, Robbie Savage, down at Eastleigh. Here is Sutton 0, Rochdale 0. I'm going to go for a lie down. I thought that was in.
Yeah, no technology to help you there either, Ian Abrahams, I'm afraid. Next, we're going to be looking back at last Sunday's Carabao Cup final and whether that could affect the title race, and take your reactions to who the real superstars currently are in the Premier League. And I think, Scott, you have to say sorry to someone. That's coming up in just a few minutes.
2 people.
Welcome along to the Saturday session on talkSPORT. You're in the company of Scott Minto and Natalie Sawyer, and here are the very latest scores as they are happening right now. We have another goal to bring you in the game between Reading and Wigan. Tom Clayton.
We do indeed. Reading 3, Wigan 0, and it's that man for the second time today, Kelvin Ehibatiaman. The corner comes in from the Reading right-hand side. It goes all the way through to Paddy Lane, who's in the penalty area with his right foot, puts it back in towards the far post. It's nodded around. There's an almighty scramble, and it falls so kindly to the feet of the big striker, who's in the perfect place to tap home for Reading's third. And just as Wigan were getting a foothold in this game, the Royals might have just put this beyond all doubt. Reading 3, Wigan 0.
Tom, thank you very much. The other games in League One are goalless, barring Wickham being 1-0 up at home to Port Vale, and Stockport are leading AFC Wimbledon by 2-0. Into League Two, and again, all the games are goalless, barring the following. Oh no, let me see. In the early game, Notts County were 2-0 winners at Harrogate that moved them into the automatic promotion places. It's Barrow 1, Bromley 1, the league leaders being pegged back by the bottom side. Barnet are 1-0 up against Cambridge, which is a blow to Neil Harris because they were the team that fell out of the all-important top 3. It's Swindon 1, Fleetwood 1, Crewe 1, Oldham 1, Bristol Rovers 2, Accrington Stanley 0. And goals are firing in as we speak. Salford are 1-0 up at home to MK Dons, and Walsall have just taken the lead away to Colchester. In the National League, it's still goalless between Sutton and the league leaders Rochdale. And in the FA Trophy semi-final, Southend have come from a goal behind to now lead at Southport. 2-1 they lead in that one, and Southport are the lowest ranked side, who had already knocked out a couple of National League sides to get to this stage, but it looks as though Southend may well now be edging it towards May's final. No goals as of yet between Willstone and Marine in the other semi-final taking place. In the Premiership Rugby, this one live for you on talkSPORT 2. It's Bristol Bears 7, Harlequins 5. That's at half-time. And this game continues to amaze us in the Super League, because Huddersfield Giants had got off to a torrid start, bottom of the table without a win, no points as of yet either, but they lead at the league leaders 26-4 at Wigan Warriors. So that is quite a result to bring you right now. We'll keep you on top of it as it continues, but let's get back to the subject matter of who is the poster boy or the face of the Premier League. Now that Mo Salah has announced that he's going to be leaving come the end of the season, it's kind of led to that discussion of, well, what next for the Premier League? The product itself delivers, but maybe we don't have the star names as much anymore. You kind of started to list, Scott, a few players that you thought were worthy of a mention, but you've missed some out.
Well, funny enough, I'm actually going to start with here. There's Ollie has sent a text saying, has there ever been a day in our lives when the Moose hasn't been at a game? Does that man live in a camper van?
He's a busy bee. What can you say?
He's a very versatile broadcaster.
He is.
And he's actually come out with Max Dowman, Moose.
Oh, him. Oh,
yeah, he sent me a personal text, and he's come out with that.
But is that not a bit soon?
Yes, you can't say that right now. But he is an absolute superstar in the making, and we need to be very careful how we talk about him, because I've not seen a talent. I mean, well, you're putting it in the Lamine Yamal kind of category.
Wow,
and that's
huge.
That's the biggest compliment I can give him. Trust me. Mark Caffrey said Iliman Ndiaye is the new superstar on the rise, like his club Everton.
Yes.
Doing fantastic, have to say. And this is where I have to hold my hand up and apologise. There's one person who's not put their name, so I can't apologise to you personally. Does Bruno Fernandes play cricket? No mention. If he did, I wish he was English for sure. And Scott has gone way down in my esteem in not mentioning world-class Bruno Fernandes amongst the elite Prem players. Bruno has played consistently better than anyone that Scott has named, and that's from Ben. And Ben, I hereby give you an official apology, because I actually have gone so big on Bruno. And I was recently out in Malaysia, and I was asked the question, or a few of us were asked the question, who's the best Premier League midfielder? And you could argue that it's holding midfielders,
that's the problem, isn't
midfielders. But I actually think in terms of, I sort of said, well, let's reframe the question. What player would you sign if you needed to sign, within that midfield area. And I said Bruno Fernandes. I think what he's done at that club with the pressure, and we talk about Tottenham and the players not able to handle the pressure of being down there in relegation. Manchester United, that shirt weighs even heavier. It's the heaviest weighing shirt in the Premier League. It's the biggest club in the Premier League. Liverpool fans might argue with that, but it's definitely one of the biggest clubs in the world. And for what Sir Alex Ferguson did, and I played against those teams who were just nothing short of sensational, the drop-off of the last, decade, 12 years, and yet he has been the one constant where assists, goals. We talked earlier about England perhaps not looking for that forward pass, that he's not afraid to do that. So, Ben and Mr. or Mrs. Anonymous, I wholeheartedly apologise to you. Bruno is right up there.
Much needed apology. I'm going to quickly run you through some scores that have just coming into us. And Barrow have turned the game around against Barrow. Remember, they went into this as the bottom side, but they now lead 2-1 against the league leaders, Bromley. That moves them actually off the bottom, and it's only goal difference that keeps them out, keeps them in the relegation zone, I should say. Wickham are 2-0 up now at home to Port Vale. Colchester have equalised at home to Walsall, and Newport have taken the lead in their game against Shrewsbury in League Two as well. I'm glad you had your apologies. It's very important to acknowledge the mistakes.
You seem to really enjoy that.
I did. I could have listened to more of that. I want to also just quickly say, someone has mentioned Ivan Toney and how I have omitted and not talked about him, but we did mention him briefly.
You did
earlier on,
did, yeah.
Where I don't know anything, but it just feels as though there is, and we were kind of on the subject of Trent Alexander-Arnold, that maybe there's just a little bit more to it than just footballing reasons as to why they may not be used or being called up by Thomas Tuchel.
Well, this critique of you, couldn't have started in a more respectful way. Dearest Brentford Natalie Sawyer.
I like that. I should change my name to just Brentford.
Yeah. We'll leave the rest bit out. But Ivan Toney was mentioned.
Yes. And I just feel as though there's some more to it than maybe just his footballing prowess. And I don't necessarily think it's to do with Saudi Arabia either anymore. Not now. Because I think a whole host of other nations call up players who play in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, but does Thomas Tuchel?
Well, clearly not in this instance. But he did call him up at one stage.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen him since. And he's scoring goals for fun.
So could he argue that he has been given a chance? He's given him a chance and he didn't like what he saw, whatever he saw. I mean,
but that's what I'm suggesting.
I think it's a real shame. I actually would have loved to have seen him go to Chelsea instead of going to Saudi. And I understand, with the sort of career he's had, and then suddenly the one unbelievable generational, and not just him, but his kids and grandkids almost set up for life. But in terms of that kind of, Chelsea needing the extra striker to go alongside or, to dovetail with Joao Pedro, I think he would have been a brilliant signing. Shame to see him out of the Premier League.
Well, especially as it felt as though he was really just getting into his stride in the Premier League. So, as you rightly say, financially, you can't argue with him doing that because he's earning quite a lot of money and setting up his family for life, as you've alluded to. But
He's a pound behind you now, apparently.
Well, he's got a little while still to catch me up, but we're all right. We're good. Shall we just bring you some team news from the North London derby that's going to be taking place at the Emirates in the WSL? Angelina Kelly has all the details for us.
Yes, Renee Slagers makes 5 changes to the side who won 3-1 against Chelsea in the first leg of their Champions League quarter-final fixture on Tuesday night. There are a few changes in defence with Daphne van Domselaar in net over Annette Borber. Right back Emily Fox makes way for Smila Holmberg, and with Leah Williamson unavailable, Lotte Bubenmoy keeps her place at centre-back with Steph Catley coming in for Leia Codina alongside her after returning from the Asian Cup. Further up the pitch, Olivia Smith starts over Beth Mead and Stina Black-Stenius is on the bench, meaning Alessia Russo will start up front with Frida Marnham in the number 10 position. Legendary captain Kim Little starts and will be celebrated today after signing a 1-year contract extension and surpassing 400 appearances for the club. Martin Ho, who signed a new contract with Spurs this week, makes 2 changes to the side that lost 5-2 to Manchester City last weekend. Spurs have been missing their centre-back duo Toko Koga and Claire Hunt, who were both at the Asian Cup. The good news is that Koga is back in the 11, but Hunt misses out tomorrow as she's set to have surgery on her right knee. Also back from the tournament and straight into the 11 is Maika Hamano, who scored Japan's winning goal in the final, meaning that Julie Blackstad and Bethany England, who could make her 200th WSL appearance if she does play today, drop to the bench. And after signing new long-term contracts with Spurs this week, Matilda Vinberg and Olivia Holt keep their places in the 11. A Spurs senior team, male or female, have not won at the Emirates since December 2018. So it will be an uphill task for Martin Ho's side as Arsenal are unbeaten in 2026. Kick-off is at 5:30 p.m. It's Arsenal versus Tottenham.
Angelina, thank you very much. Scotland, of course, are warming up for the World Cup. They're at Hampden this afternoon in a friendly as they're taking on Japan. And Paul Mitchell is going to be right across this one for us here on talkSPORT. And Paul, of course, this is the first game since they earned that qualification, that famous night against Denmark. I'm sure the atmosphere is going to be cracking.
Yeah, I mean, the atmosphere at the end of that game that night was something I've never experienced before at Hampden, and I doubt, many had. It's just a wonderful thing that Scotland were able to qualify. Kenny McLean rounding it off at the very end without any doubt with that wonderful long shot from around about the halfway line. Both these sides will travel to England for the next game, though. Japan face England at Wembley on Tuesday night live on talkSPORT, while Scotland travel to the Hill Dickinson Stadium in Liverpool, which becomes the temporary home ground of the Ivory Coast. Today, though, Scotland have never scored against Japan in 3 attempts. 2 of the 3 previous meetings have ended goalless. A few faces missing for Scotland today. 5 changes from the side that lined up at the start against Denmark. Finlay Curtis, the on-loan winger from Rangers, he's at Kilmarnock at the moment. He stands ready to make his debut. He's the only Scot to do so. I mean, these games are opportunities for some to nail down their places. All will be on that long list submitted to FIFA on the 11th of May, but all want to be in that final 26 submitted by the end of the month. Scotland really don't do friendly wins at home. They haven't had one in a decade. Hopefully that will change today, Natalie.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. And as I say, they're on the cusp of something so exciting for all the Tartan Army as they head out to this summer's World Cup. They are taking on a Japan side that conceded just 3 goals in their 10 World Cup qualifying matches, and I think I've read the stat of something losing. They've lost just 5 of their last 39 games, so a stiff opposition that they're coming up against.
Yeah, I think this will be good for Scotland. I think it's a different type of team that they're going to be coming up against. They're up against a team that, when we talk about Scotland and going to the World Cup for the first time since 1998, Japan have been at every World Cup since 1998. The last World Cup, they beat Spain, they beat Germany. They've got a really big pedigree. They were lucky to go out against Croatia. They've got the same management team in place, so they're very confident in what they can achieve at the World Cup. And today, be interesting. There's, I think, 5 or 6 of the Japanese players have got 10 caps, 11 caps or under, so it's quite an inexperienced team, perhaps saving 1 or 2 for Wembley. But Dazan Maeda, the Celtic forward, does start. He's had a really bad season by his own standards. He was Player of the Year in Scotland last year. He has virtually disappeared in terms of goal scoring. He's down by about 18 goals at this stage of the season. It'll be interesting to see if he can rekindle something in his national colours here.
Paul, enjoy it. Thank you very much. Regular updates from Paul throughout. Let's take you to that National League encounter where the leaders, Rochdale, are at Sutton. There's been a goal. Ian Abrahams.
The house, Sutton are in front. Sutton 1, Rochdale 0, and how a game can turn in the space of a second or two. At one end, it looked for all the world like Ian Henderson had given Rochdale the lead, rounding the goalkeeper and slotting into an empty net, but it was disallowed for offside. Up went the other end, Sutton United, and Charlie Bell has hit an absolute screamer from 25 yards out. One of those where the goalkeeper is diving and the ball is just arcing over him into the top corner of the net. That is a massive goal in terms of the leadership of the National League, because remember, ahead of today, Rochdale were 3 points clear of York. Well, York at the moment they were drawing a second or two. They're still drawing 0-0 with Woking, so they will move to within 2 points of Rochdale, and they both meet on the final day of the season at Spotland. Rochdale, as they always are on this ground, are losing and haven't scored. It's Sutton 1, Rochdale 0.
Ian, thank you very much. And in fact, just as Ian was bringing us that latest update, York have gone ahead now in that game at home to Woking, which means they now do go top of the National League. So level on points, this goal difference that separates the two sides. Really, really intriguing end it might end up being in the National League. Right, let's take you to the other games where we've got reporters at. In League One at Edgeley Park, Stockport are taking on AFC Wimbledon. What's the latest now, Mark Wilson?
It's still Stockport 2, AFC Wimbledon 0, but AFC Wimbledon have come close again. Last time you were with us, that wonderful save from Corey Adai, keeping out the Johnson header with a wonderful full-length tip onto the crossbar. He's just made another great save as well. It was a cross from the right-hand side. Zach Nelson into the box, missed his kick. The ball bounced off a defender, fell to him 6 yards out. Looked certain to score, but somehow Adai kept the ball out with his feet, and he's just made a more routine save. Omar Begil with a header, 8 yards out. He's hit it straight at the keeper. At the other end, Stockport just had the one chance. It came right at the start of the second half. It came from across from the left-hand side. Ethan Pye, the centre half, had stayed forward from the set piece. Free header, 10 yards out. He just looped it straight over the top. Stockport lead, but they're hanging on a little bit here. Stockport 2, AFC Wimbledon 0.
What about the game between Reading and Wigan? Tom Clayton.
Yeah, around 11 minutes to go here. Reading 3, Wigan 0, and Wigan really trying to force some kind of issue. They're throwing attack after Reading, but they're staying very stout in defence. Reading, whenever they get the ball, are quite keen to take the sting out of this one. And as it stands, they're moving into the top 6. It would only be the second time this season after a pretty torrid start to the year. So a real recovery job there from Liam Richardson. He's heading for 3 points. Reading are heading for 3 points, maybe. Reading are heading for the playoffs. Reading 3, Wigan 0.
Tom, thank you very much. OK, next we will be taking a look at last Sunday's Carabao Cup final and see whether or not that result and that win for Manchester City could affect the title race.
You played in career in Japan, didn't you? World Cup in 2002. Did you find it hard, the weather conditions to play in?
They are tough, and in South Africa as well. We played a game, and then the altitude, the ball moves different and everything. And if you're not used to it, as we know, we all love to go on holiday in the summer, but playing football, running around in that heat and that weather, it takes its toll at the time, and we're just not a nation that's used to that. So that's one of the major things I look at when it comes to that tournament being over there.
What about strikers? We know Harry Kane's going to go, but if you looked at the Euros, he was injured, wasn't he? And Gareth Southgate was still playing him. Maybe they didn't trust other strikers in the squads. What do you think of tonight? Do you think Solanke and Calvert-Lewin have to put in a performance?
I think it's their chance of breaking in, isn't it? It's their chance of solidifying their self in that tour.
Thank you very much for tuning in to the Saturday session on talkSPORT. It is Scott Minto and Natalie Sawyer with you, and we're keeping you across all of the live sporting action that is taking place right now. So let's do that for you. And first of all, take you to League One, shall we? Where Stockport lead AFC Wimbledon by 2-0. Reading are 3-0 up against Wigan, that at home. Wycombe lead Port Vale by 2-0, and as of yet, no breakthrough between Blackpool and Burton, and Exeter and Leyton Orient. Into League Two earlier on, Notts County moved into the top 3 places with a 2-0 win at Harrogate. That could have changed if results went against them, but as things stand, it's so far so good. Bromley, the league leaders, did take the lead at Barrow, but they now are losing that game 2-1. Barrow have turned that one around. Salford lead MK Dons by 1-0, and Luke Offord has just been sent off for the Dons as well, so they're down to 10. Barnet are 1-0 up against Cambridge. Cambridge, the team that were looking to get back into third place, but they are now losing that one. It's 1-1 between Swindon and Fleetwood. Crewe and Oldham 1-1. It's also 1-1 between Colchester and Walsall. Bristol Rovers are 2-0 up at home to Accrington. Newport lead Shrewsbury by 1-0. And as of yet, in Colin Kenzim Richards' first game in charge of Crawley, it is goalless as they host Gillingham. Into the National League, a blow for the league leaders coming into this one. Rochdale, they are losing at Sutton. 1-0 is the scoreline in that one. And York have taken the lead in their game, which means they go ahead of Sutton, so they go top on goal difference. 1-0 they lead at home to Woking. Taking you into the FA Trophy semi-finals, and it's looking good for Southend to reach that May finale. They've come from behind to lead against the lowest team still left in the competition, Southport. 3-1 the score in that one. No goals as of yet between Willstone and Marine, and we are heading into the final few minutes of the 90 in that one. In the live Premiership rugby that is taking place on talkSPORT 2, low scoring, but Bristol Bears lead Harlequins by 7 points to 5. And it just keeps getting better and better in the Super League for the Huddersfield Giants, who are yet to win this season, but they are 34-10 up against the league leaders, Wigan, and that is at the Brick Community Stadium at Wigan's home as well, and they had got off to a 5 wins out of 5 starts, so that is mightily impressive. Wycombe, by the way, have now gone 3-0 up in their game against Port Vale. Fred Onyendinma getting the goal on the 85th minute. That runs you through all of the latest then in the EFL and beyond. It's giving us time, Scott, for us to chat maybe about the impact of the League Cup final. And Manchester City's win over Arsenal ended the Gunners' hope perhaps of an historic quadruple. But my goodness, they're still very much in charge of the Premier League. They have been formidable in the Champions League. They're still involved in the FA Cup too. A lot of people a month or so ago, especially as people were thinking, Man City are going to come good. They're going to come good in the Premier League. They're still not reaching the heights of City that we expect, and some of their results haven't been, well, brilliant, shall we say, by their standards anyway. But everyone was saying a lot might pin on this Carabao Cup final in the sense of the influence, the psychology of it, and who wins it. But as I say, because of what's happening in the league, do you think it will have any impact on the way the title race could end up going?
I think it can. I think if Arsenal had won the Carabao Cup final, then it's almost like, you know what, we're not only 9 points ahead, having played a game more, we've beaten the team that we still have to play, and actually we completely feel confident about the situation we're in right now. At this moment in time now, I think Man City and Pep Guardiola taught Arsenal and Mikel Arteta a lesson. The thing is that Arsenal aren't playing Manchester City week in, week out until the end of the season. So even though there's that game to come at the Etihad, and let's not forget that it's been an incredible season for Arsenal. I mean, absolutely incredible. And the treble is still on. But because they've got Sporting, and you could argue that perhaps they've been quite lucky in the teams that they're playing, and certainly Sporting are should we say, the least best left in the Champions League, but you still have to beat them, and there's still games. Manchester City do not have that, so they can rest, they can concentrate. Obviously, they've got the FA Cup and that game against Liverpool as well. But they haven't got the midweek of the Champions League. I see an Arsenal side who, yes, I think that would have been a massive psychological push over a line to have won a trophy and against your biggest rival. But I still see them this season, whenever there have been question marks, you know, after losing at home to Manchester United, you've got Ellen Road coming up. You look at the way Leeds are playing at the moment. That's going to be difficult. They blitzed Leeds in that particular game. 2-0 up against Wolves, the worst team in the Premier League, and you didn't win the game. And look what happened. They beat Spurs.
That can happen to anyone. We know we were.
Well, of course it can happen to anyone. but what I'm saying is that the sort of bottle job tag has been thrown at them.
Yeah.
I think they've answered it really well in the league, but they didn't get over the line against the Carabao Cup final. I think for the Premier League, it's a really great result that Manchester City beat Arsenal, because if Arsenal had won, it's almost like actually they can go to the Etihad and win. But let's not forget, they're in full control of the situation at the moment. They don't have to beat Man City at the Etihad. It's not in City's hands. They can still even lose and still go on and win the games and win the Premier League. So I still think Arsenal will. But yeah, there's just another test. You know, are you ready for this?
Let me pause you for a moment, if you don't mind, because there has been a goal in the race for promotion from the National League. Let's take you to the game that Ian Abrahams is at.
Sutton 1, Rochdale 1. Rochdale's first ever goal on this ground scored by Devante Rodney. Beautiful right-footed volley from the edge of the penalty area, just inside the box, with 1 minute of time left. We're now to 5 added minutes, but it's a goal that will keep Rochdale on top of the table by a point from York, who remember are beating Woking thanks to Ollie Pearce's penalty in Yorkshire. Here is Sutton 1, Rochdale 1.
Ian, thank you very much. There's also been a huge goal for Blackpool in their game against Burton, a 90th minute winner potentially for Blackpool, which would move them out of the relegation zone if they can hold on to that win. So that's massive, taking place at Bloomfield Road. OK, let's take you back onto the subject of the title race and the impact of that League Cup final result for Manchester City. Speaking on kickoff earlier in the week, Darren Lewis still not entirely sure if the Premier League title race is done.
Think about the teams that Arsenal have dropped points to when they've surrendered the league.
Well, yeah.
No, not that they've had
You mean
wobbles.
in the league?
The teams that they've actually had those wobbles against, your Southamptons and your West Hams, not the top 6
Yeah,
sides.
it's true.
It's been the smaller sides that we look at the fixture list. We've seen countless programmes about it. Look at the fixtures; they're easily winnable games, and then suddenly the results don't go the way they do. And I think you can't play the game on paper.
I think this Bournemouth game's massive.
Danny Murphy just chipping in there at the end. I love that. I think it's massive, that Bournemouth game.
He's right. He's right. It's in between the Champions League games.
It is.
And then after those 2 Champions League games and the Bournemouth game comes the City game. That's what I'm talking about. The City are able to prepare a little bit better.
Yes.
But you still want to be in this position. Listen, if Arsenal just, in inverted commas, win the Premier League, it's been an incredibly successful season for them. First time in 22 years, 3 years on being the bridesmaid, not the bride. This is the year for them. And I think they will get over the line, but I am fascinated to see, one, how they get on and deal with that Bournemouth game around the Champions League games, but also, 2, the Arsenal side we're going to see against Manchester City in the Etihad. Because, as I say, I felt that Arteta was taught a lesson in that game.
Obviously, from the England game of last night, Noni Madueke went off with an injury. Still don't quite know the full outcome of that, although he was seen walking with a brace. He's been sort of in and out of the Arsenal team, as has a lot of players, because we know that Mikel Arteta does shake things up a bit because of the squad depth that he now has.
I wish he was still at Chelsea, but anyway.
I know. And listen, I think he's a great player. And actually, all of that silly petition that some of the Chelsea fans put together to try and...
Arsenal fans.
Sorry, Arsenal fans, absolutely.
Yes.
Forgive me, Chelsea fans. Absolutely, was just ridiculous in itself. But does that in itself do they have a problem there? Because Bukayo Saka isn't quite at Bukayo Saka levels as well. So is that, do you think, potentially an issue for Arsenal heading into this final part of the season?
No, I still think, Bukayo Saka hasn't been verging on world class this season like he has been for the previous 4 or 5 seasons or whatever, where actually when Mikel Arteta first took over, he was almost carrying the side. So I think he is a sensational player. I think even if he's not coming out with the goals and assists, there was a stat a couple of weeks ago that actually he won the most turnovers in the final third of the whole of the Premier League. So, you know, he's someone who still works really hard for the side. You got Martinelli, you got Trossard, obviously, if not Madueke. He's got the strongest squads in the Premier League. So he can still deal with it in different ways. So while Saka might not be at his very best, he can still, you know, an 80% Saka is still very, very good. They don't have to win that game at the Etihad. You know, that Bournemouth game is massive because if they do drop points there, then there's question marks. But, you know, Manchester City have to go to Stamford Bridge at that weekend as well. So that's not going to be easy for them. So this is what we want, isn't it, Nat? You know, we'd want it even closer. You know, and let's not forget, Man City dropped points. I know what Darren's saying, and always interesting listening to him. But City dropped points against West Ham and Nottingham Forest, who are right down there in the Premier League. So this is not your typical Pep Guardiola Manchester City where they win 11 out of the last 12. Are they going to be consistent? Are they going to win every single game from here on in? That for me is Arsenal may drop points, but I think City will as well.
Well, but this is what I think this season is all about, the excitement. We want it to go as far and as long as possible. And that can be about the relegation picture too. It's the fight for European places. You know, we don't want it all sewn up within a month's time. You know, we still want it to be going to that May month where we've still got loads hanging on and hanging over it. You know, if my team's involved in it, if your team's involved in it, or anyone, of course, listening, if your team's still involved in something going into the final couple of weeks, geez, that makes it more exciting for everybody.
Yeah, it depends if it's top or bottom.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, I'm saying that because my team's all right.
Exactly.
They're safe, but
I'm all right, Jack.
I know, sorry.
You know, and I can talk Chelsea or West Ham, and I think the job that Nuno's done, where it looked like he didn't get a manager bounce, and you know that Wolves game was absolutely shocking, and then they lost to Nottingham Forest as well. But the bounce back, they almost again went to Dr. Tottenham and got a last minute winner, and from then on they look like they've got fights.
They absolutely do.
From let's just say from a neutral point of view, we knew last season who was going to go down, and you know, and Ange said he even concentrated from a couple of months before, and he said Christmas onwards, I'm not having that, but he was just sort of all eggs in the Europa League basket. So this is what we want. The Champions League race is fascinating, and yeah, if Arsenal drop more points, say against Bournemouth, and then City win at Stamford Bridge, get the popcorn.
This is a game also to look forward to. I say that, not look forward to if you're involved in it, but final game of the season, West Ham Leeds.
Yeah.
I mean, that could potentially be massive. Oh,
I actually think Leeds will be safe by then, but that's my eyes telling me it. That the hard facts are they're still very much in a relegation scrap here, and it just takes one bad weekend, and there's only a point difference between them and that dotted line. So, but what I've seen of Leeds is, and for some time now, a whole club in unison, really good synergy. The fans, the hierarchy, the players, the manager, everyone's kind of in this together. So whereas with West Ham it's been difficult at times, but that's been turned around. Spurs is difficult. Nottingham Forest seems to be, and that was a massive, massive result against Spurs. I just think Leeds will be okay, but until they're mathematically okay, they will certainly hope it doesn't go down to that last game, whereas West Ham probably will.
Yes, that is very, very true. Let's bring you another goal, shall we, in that game between Sutton and Rochdale. Ian Abrahams.
The winner scored by Rochdale. Sutton 1, Rochdale 2. Ian Henderson, we heard from him beforehand, the 41-year-old who just cannot stop scoring in a Rochdale shirt, a real legend of the club. Ball literally thrown long inside the penalty area. It was bouncing around, and when it needed someone close in to poke the ball home, Henderson was your man, jolly on the spot to do it. Rochdale hadn't scored here. They lost every game here before today, and going into the 89th minute they were a goal down, but suddenly all is rosy again and they are going to win. Sutton 1, Rochdale 2 into the last few seconds at Gans Green. In fact, there is the final whistle. So Charlie Bell had put Sutton ahead, but Devante Rodney's volley and Ian Henderson right at the end means that this game has been turned on its head, and Rochdale retain their 3-point lead at the top of the National League. Finished here, Sutton United 1, Rochdale 2.
Ian, thank you very much. There's been another goal in the game between Stockport and AFC Wimbledon. Mark Wilson.
Yeah, third goal for Stockport. All 3 points going the way of the men from Edgley Park. Stockport 3, AFC Wimbledon 0. Ollie Norwood it was. After a good attacking play, wouldn't have the chance. Ball fell to Norwood, edge of the box, and he rifled it into the bottom corner. Harsh on AFC Wimbledon, who've had chance after chance in the second half. But Corey Adai, the Stockport keeper, has kept them out single-handedly. Stockport 3, AFC Wimbledon 0.
OK, so they're still into added-on time in that one, but it is all over in the game between Reading and Wigan. Tom Clayton.
Full time here, Reading 3, Wigan